In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Holy shit. That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I'm Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid has seen some shit.
In the time before Atlantis sank and the lands of the world were savage and untamed, one man would claim his destiny. Leaving his Atlantean tribe behind and throwing off the shackles of Lemurian bondage, he sailed the seas as a pirate captain before seizing his place as a king. And now that he has the throne, how long will he be able to keep it? This is the Shadow Kingdom, the classic sword and sorcery tale by Robert E. Howard, adapted by Randy Zimmerman, with artwork by Russ Leach. Available now at fundmycomic.com.
What a crowd.
What a crowd.
What a crowd. I love that guy. I miss that guy.
I know.
One of the best.
Oh,
Yep. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing on this fine Thursday morning in April, the first Thursday in April? Wow. Can you believe it's already April? Already the fourth month of the year.
Man.
Tax season is coming to a close. If you've got your taxes done.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Or you could give the government the finger and say, screw you, I'm not doing it.
Or come to Latin America. Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
Come to Latin America.
Or
Leave that there. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just put my money in Latin America.
There you go.
All right, just filter it all down there.
Yeah, don't come down here without any money. That's not gonna work.
No, sir.
No.
You want that money. Guys, this morning, everybody needs to be sharing out this particular episode. This is a good one. Okay, this is a big one, right? So a couple weeks ago, we had Crom on, and we're going to start making Crom semi-regular, I think, in this house because
That's always good for the digestion.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's good
Yeah,
fiber
exactly.
right there.
Yeah.
Like an
there you
apple.
go. There you go.
Regularity is always welcome. Yeah.
Regularity. So we talked about basic marketing. Man, there was so much that we couldn't get through in reasonable depth.
That's
Good
what she said.
episode.
Yeah.
That is definitely what she said.
Sorry.
3 minutes in.
3 minutes in, and we're already.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sick. All right.
Yeah. Well, we know that, Pedro.
Yeah. it's okay.
Top of that, you're not feeling good.
That too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We had a weather
Here we
change here, and
Yeah.
you got me going too now.
Yeah, it's
Oh, my
solidarity, man. I appreciate it.
I'm Milana.
How Milana? Oh my goodness. So, but there was so much that we had to get through that, I mean, we just couldn't do it all. And so we're breaking out different topics that are more specialized. And this week, when we talked a couple of weeks ago, Crom, we really upset Pedro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that the goal?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he got real
exactly.
upset.
Emotional, damn it!
He got
Every
real
time.
upset.
It's becoming a comfort zone now. Like if I don't get offended, like what did I do?
You got to embrace the pain.
We
They
went
do.
right at videos. We went right at his world.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the only one that got upset by that.
Mm. Whoa.
You know, the mere mention that people are wasting their money on trailers for their campaigns, I think got under some people's skin, because no
Not
one
a
wants to
surprise.
think, wow, I've been
Yeah.
spending 90% of my marketing budget on something that only maybe affects 10% of my outcome.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants that, right? But it wasn't that we were saying that videos are bad, that you shouldn't do them. We were saying that you should do them better.
Or you're using it wrong.
You're using it wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the real key to it. Is like, do you know what this tool does? And that's true of like all your marketing.
Yeah, or
do
yeah,
you know what the tool does?
You know, what is it capable of doing for you? So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. That's going to be our topic. We're going to dig into that real deep.
Real deep.
Real deep.
Yeah, that's yeah.
We're gonna find the meat.
We've done this before,
Here you go.
and we promise we will be gentle.
We will.
That is not a joke. That is a natural fact.
It's a natural fact, guys. It really is.
Yeah.
Did we promise we'd be gentle? I don't know.
Yeah.
Randy, how was your week, man?
It's been very interesting. Yeah. Went on a little weekend trip with the wife and came back to some work, and just now I'm going through a tremendously large box of 40 years worth of Tales from the Anniverse drawings and art, and trying to weed through it and pulling out character sheets and looking at stuff going, what the heck is this? That kind of thing. You know, but it's been good. It's been good.
Hojo is one of our guest panelists this week. Yeah, that rotating seat now. Trying to it's musical chairs, and we're gonna find out who is.
Hojo had no idea he was in a rotating seat.
No, not at all.
I thought he did.
That explains the movement. Yes.
Yeah, I thought he was all about it.
Yeah.
I thought that's why he got there.
Yep.
Why? I mean,
Why?
should we ask Doug?
You don't
Doug.
want to ask Doug?
Doug.
It means you're a catcher, not a pitcher.
The joke's on you, Doug. I was a pitcher.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. He goes, there you go, Doug.
I thought you were going to ask Dave.
Why?
Yeah, 'cause,
Because
Hojo. So Hojo, how was your week, man?
oh, good. Well, I mean, I've been sick too. I just came off of it. I've been sick, had like a
really?
little cough and all that for a week. The wife's sick now. My
going on?
youngest turned 3. Busy
Sweet.
editing, trying to go through my first pass on Mythicals 3. Wrap up Mythicals 2. That's at the printer. So I got the downtime, chilling and editing.
Chilling and editing.
It's basically it.
Chilling and editing. I went on a hike Saturday.
Where do you hike in Indiana?
Oh, all kinds of places.
Is there?
Oh, yeah, all kinds of places.
Oh, okay.
Especially across southern Indiana.
Oh,
Southern
all right.
Indiana is
Yeah,
very
yeah.
hilly.
Mm.
Lots of.
It's because of all the rivers. Yeah.
So we went. Southern Indiana is right at the very base of where the Appalachian Mountains start.
Based. Yeah.
Right there. Yeah, we're based down here. So we went to the state park. It was actually the state park where I was introduced to the dulcimer. So we went on a hike there and actually accidentally got on the rugged trail, which I'm not physically ready for a rugged trail yet, but I pushed through. Wound up getting sick that night just from all the breathing, coughing stuff up,
all the ruggedness.
Yeah, and it just got me in it, and so it got me in like this bad cycle. But I had to be up early Sunday morning because Easter, and I was playing.
Oh yeah,
and we got to play at church. But so we went through Easter, had a good Easter. One of the things we're going to talk about today is kind of made the beginning of the week kind of rough for me, but we'll get into that more here in a little bit. Pedro, how was your?
Well, aside from being sick, like a dog, I've been making videos. How about that?
Making videos.
Yeah.
How close are we to you being able to reveal this huge project you've been working on?
Dude, like we're like 2 weeks out, I think.
Just the
finishing.
2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm at like 92% of it. And then I have to like discuss with the client, like what if he wants any changes and whatnot. And then he's doing the audio because he's paying big money for it. So yeah, like I'll do the audio. Okay, like yeah, sure. So it's good. It's good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And Crom, how about you? How about you doing?
I've been doing all right. You know what? And not that we're going to dive right into what you were going to talk about there, one of the topics you were getting into, but that has certainly recontextualized some of my troubles and made them seem a lot less of a big deal. Like I got my challenges coming in and I'm busy and all that, but by and large doing all right. So
yeah, this news kind of set the mood for the week for me around here. It's been very somber. So a couple of weeks ago, many of you might have heard through the grapevine or through different media outlets that one of the founders of Cartoonist Kayfabe on YouTube, Ed Piskor, was accused of sending some inappropriate messages to, at the time, when she would have been a minor. And then someone else come on and piled on and made some more accusations later on in that week. And he was effectively canceled. Very efficiently. The internet mob came out and
surgically, you might say.
Yeah. It was scary to behold.
Yeah, they've done this before, right?
Yeah, like they've done it before, and many of these people were his friends, and it seemed like none of them even took a second to listen to his, to even verify what was going on. And let me preface this by saying I'm not a fan of Ed Piskor. As far as
me neither.
And
I don't know.
Look,
we should be like very accurate with semantics here. Friends. Right. Are those really friends? People who do that?
Yeah. Well, it's people he called friend. Okay.
Okay.
But so this is not, Luke trying to be, feign some kind of false emotion here. No, this is, it was another man, another human being, another one of God's children on the planet, occupying space on this rock, rotating around another rock, or ball of gas. And just to see how evil and wicked people can quickly become, how venomous things can be, and just how quickly it can push someone that's already possibly very emotionally fragile over the edge. Really got me, man. It really got me. So he on Sunday, Ed posted a 5-page suicide note, self-deletion note on Facebook, and people tried to, and he was missing. No one could find him, and they wound up finding him on Monday. He had at 41 years old, he decided to that his only option through what was happening to him was self-deletion. That really got me because, I know some of the people.
He literally had everything yanked out from underneath him.
He did his whole life.
He explains that in the letter, yeah.
And it got me thinking, when comics is your whole life, your identity, everything.
Not only that, but he was being hounded by the larger media at the same time, who had gone to his
went to his house and didn't blur out the number of the house.
And shame on them. And it just shows the bullies.
I hope they get sued. I hope they get sued big time for that.
It just shows the bullies that are out there.
Yep.
And people that are just, I don't have to particularly like someone's work or even their stance on different topics or subjects. I don't want anyone to die. And I definitely don't want anyone to be bullied into a corner where they think that self-deletion is their only option. And I certainly don't want to work in an industry where people would rather see you dead than see you successful.
Yeah.
And sadly, it looks like there's a section, and it only takes a couple to ruin it for the whole, shall we say, community, if we have to.
Yeah, I hate to use that word.
That are just pathological, psychotics.
Yeah, and there are those loud voices, but those people that are influenced easy by those loud voices, will pile on, and it quickly becomes a crazy
fire that you cannot control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that was pretty rough. So this was the big thing this week that kind of set the mood.
Yeah, Monday morning, remember I dropped it in this DM group. I knew hours before I even said that because I waited before someone said it publicly. That was the first thing I saw when I woke up Monday morning, to get ready for the work week after I had been sick after Easter, dealing with my family. That's the first thing I said. EMTs have been sent to his home. I was like, no way, dude. They're like, just wait. And you just, when you hear something like that, you just hope maybe they got there in time, but more than often than not, they didn't.
Tommy, the Green Ranger.
Yeah. That was crazy.
I was at a convention 15 feet away from the guy the weekend before he decided to self-delete. And that bugged me because I might get emotional this morning, guys, but that's okay. I have been in ministry for 25 years, 2 decades, right? And, as a pastor, I've talked a lot of people off a ledge. And I just wish I could have shown some compassion. I wish more people would be willing to show compassion to people that are really, truly struggling. There should always be a better option than self-deletion. It's a real problem.
Well, you add to that, we're in an art form, period. And that means that some or most of the people working in this art form are very passionate. They're very passionate about what they do. Ed was incredibly passionate about comics. He was passionate about his position. He was passionate about the jobs he was getting and had gotten, and the movement that he was making in the market. And when all of that gets yanked out right from underneath him, especially if the second accuser's accusations turn out to be completely false, which is what it looks like it is happening.
And I mean, not for nothing, every demographic he is it's an epidemic. It's becoming an epidemic with this target demographic. With often yourself in America.
Yeah.
With look at him. That is the statistic.
It is.
Middle-aged white male, lives alone, I don't know. I think maybe he lived with his parents. I don't know, but
No,
he
he
doesn't
lived
have
alone.
any children.
Lived by himself.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Every red flag for him, once this happened, somebody should have been on him. Like, come on,
Well,
man, don't.
His whole existence was the art form. He says that
Right.
in his letter. That was it.
If when you have something, this is all you are, and it's ripped away from you.
Mhm.
Like, I felt bad when they told me that Marvel Comics, like, it's not for you anymore. Okay, then I'll go read something else. He had it all taken away from him. His channel, Pixel turned me onto the channel like not long before this happened when they were reviewing old Wizard magazines.
Uh-huh.
Like they just loved it. They loved what they did, and like he was the happiest person in the world and had everything until he didn't. And the capacity for some people to handle this emotionally, it doesn't exist.
You think about comedians, in fact, Randy and Russ are working on a book by a tremendous talent, Robert E. Howard, who, wasn't murdered by internet bullies.
Another passionate
but
individual.
A passionate guy who mental health and the isolation of this kind of art form got the best of. And, when a guy like Ed, who his whole life, all of his friends are in comics, and when all of your friends and all of your jobs when all of your friends, all of your jobs, all of your livelihood, and all of the things that you invest your time in as far as a hobby are when that's all stripped away, you have nothing left. And that's why athletes have trouble.
It wasn't even a shunning. It was a vicious backlash.
It's the air you breathe, and when you cut off an air supply to a human being, what happens? They die.
On what Ed says was a group of out of context texts back and forth, and somebody who was making stuff up.
Yeah.
That he had no idea where those accusations came from.
Go ahead, Hojo.
Innocuous or not, like what happened, like I said, like I only usually speak on things, especially if like I don't know, because I didn't know he existed until the incident with the text, the DMs. Two things were apparent to me. They were quite abundantly clear after Monday. One, a man lost his life. Two, the finger pointing is over because there's literally names named, and whether he had one fan or 1,000 or 1,000,000, those fans no longer get to get art from their favorite artist ever again.
Right. If you ever enjoyed the show Cartoonist Kayfabe, you no longer get to enjoy that.
No,
that's no longer a part of your life.
No.
Well, we quickly patterned our Comics by Night podcast. It's on Friday morning after Cartoonist Kayfabe, because that was the thing to do. You're looking at great older sequential art by some of the best people in the market. You're reminiscing, you're bringing back those great memories of this art form that you had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing with Cartoonist Kayfabe. I could never watch the program. I watched a handful of them and couldn't keep watching it because I could never get any work done whenever it was on. Because you had to stop and you had to look and go, oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I didn't like it when they piled on people because of political things like Mike Barron. I'm like, that's out of line, man. Come on.
It was.
But, that was part of that network that he was a part of that he mentioned.
That wasn't why I watched the program for them.
Yeah, I didn't watch for that. Yeah.
No.
But it was entertaining. It was.
Yes.
It was a love of the art form, and it's sad. It's sad. I like what Russ says here. It's about compassion.
Yeah.
But also about self-responsibility. People are too keen to judge on every detail of another person without knowing who they are or the truth of a situation, and then just walk away.
Yep.
In fact, the accuser, quotation marks, says Al,
actually retracted a lot of shit.
But it's too late.
Too late. Yep. Damage was done.
Like they've already got their scalp.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't think it would go this far.
Yeah, sorry's not gonna cut it.
Yeah.
Everybody says like this is what happened.
Love the attention I received.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. But if you weren't there, if you weren't in the room and you didn't see it and it wasn't spoken to you, then you really don't know the whole story and you shouldn't speak on it.
No.
And taking one or two screenshots out of context, I'm sick of this because we see it all the time.
It's framing.
It happens. I mean, it happens on a weekly, monthly basis where someone is sharing some screenshots. They're taken away out of context. And it's,
It's a political tool.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that as much as the attention it gathers in the soapbox, the virtue signaling that comes afterwards. Oh yeah, you were evil. You know, we have a lot of video clips here that we take out of context all the time, but it's funny.
But I don't know, like how much this attitude has to do with lack of achievements. Because these people have nothing aside from pointing fingers. Like, what's the last great book that has come up out of any of these people?
That's a good point.
You see, so that's all they have, the finger pointing. So we should see them as what they are, town criers, village idiots, and leave it at that.
Yeah, we need to question the mob.
When all of your friends are of that ilk, and all of a sudden they all turn on you, what you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that a lot of what Ed did was right.
Yeah.
He was of that opinion too, and he was part of that mob.
Yeah.
But this doesn't deserve to happen to anybody.
Yeah, dude. The thing is, like, the accusations leveled at him were horrible.
Serious.
You should have gone to the authorities. That's what normal people do.
Like right now, so Matt Barr, who he and I have had our differences.
Yep.
We've worked together. I believe he is a very talented artist.
Yes.
A very efficient artist when it comes to how well he gets work done.
Funny guy too.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
But can easily get himself into into the weeds socially with someone and doesn't know how to get out of the weeds. Like,
not Matt Barr.
I'm sorry is not part of that guy's vocabulary.
Are we talking about the same Matt Barr?
Yeah. So he got himself into the weeds socially with me by saying some pretty inappropriate things.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yeah, imagine that, right? And so I was like, so until I get an apology, I'm done with that guy, right?
Yeah.
As far as socially goes, I still like his work. I still respect him as an artist and creator.
Yeah.
And someone is making an accusation about him being a rapist.
Oh. Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, hold on, time out.
Which has since been retracted.
Yeah, you don't say crap like that. You don't just because your fifis are in some kind of way. You don't just make an accusation that can literally destroy a person's reputation and life and career. No. That's not some. There used to be a day when you did not. There were real occasions of that happening where people were afraid to make the accusation because of how serious that accusation is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now people should have,
but
there's no etiquette on as a human being when you're dealing like in Twitter
with a keyboard,
stuff like that. A keyboard,
yeah. The internet has gotten increasingly.
Everybody's Rambo.
Yeah, and it's gotten increasingly more volatile and vicious. And I came to the realization on Monday that the people that surround this industry, some that work in it, but most of them that want to work in it, but are more like crabs and vultures or kind of bottom feeder fish. They're trying to suck off the life of people that do have talent and that do enjoy this stuff. That those people are terrible. That we have some really god awful human beings that are involved in this industry.
I just don't think you can build a foundation on tearing things down. I mean, I guess maybe like big YouTube shows that criticize things, but I don't even think it's that. I think I look at it something different. But like to tear someone down and to try to ruin people as like that, like just that's your thing to try to succeed. Like you think that's going to work? Because people have long memories.
And that's the thing. Like there's a space for laughing at people's actions. You know what I mean? If you do something stupid, then point and laugh. But you're gonna make things up about people
in order to get attention.
In order to get attention, and things that might make them like they're not able to feed their families and themselves, and maybe get in jail time. Then you need to be hunted down and taken out.
What's going to happen when it's going to go the opposite way? When there's the opposite, when there's the Michael Douglas falling down version of Ed Piskor,
right?
Instead goes inward, they go outward.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing with this. With this network of these those kind of people, they eat their own.
Exactly. That's what I said.
You're going to see it happen eventually if they don't straighten up. You know,
I think we have to start fighting the internet bullies. We have
I
to.
think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to start, and not by being more internet bullies, but by shining some light and love on the situation. And I mean, I know not everybody here shares the same faith background that I have, but
Mhm.
you know, in my religion, my God tells me to turn the other cheek, that when someone smites you, you give them the other one.
Yeah.
If someone steals your coat, you give them your shirt, that you repay evil with kindness, and that is the only way to truly defeat the evil, is to outshine it with the kindness, and to get rid of it that way. And so I believe that the only way that we can get rid of the internet bullies and the negativity is not by creating more negativity and pointing more fingers and yelling louder. I think it's by shining brighter and by doing things more positive and trying to help the situation, trying to help people off the ledge, try to help people create healthy habits that, you know, that get them connected with people outside of this world that they work in and live in, and giving people a reprieve from the negativity, just something positive. That's what comics has become, the exact opposite of what it was when I was in high school. There was the table that I sat at that we connected over comics. There were Christians, atheists, straight, gay, male, every color. Well, there was only 2 genders back then, so both genders. That was, I mean, if you looked at it, it was a table of misfits, but we all connected over our love of comics. Exactly. And comics has become so segregated and so isolated and so segmented that it's nothing at all like what it was when I came into the fandom.
But you know, when you say all colors, it rubs me a little bit the wrong way, because I'm pretty sure you're leaving Eskimos out. Because I haven't seen many Eskimos outside. Like, I don't know.
Well, no, we did have a Hawaiian guy.
Okay.
We did not have an
Eskimo. That's close.
I think that's Eskimo / Pacific Islander. They might be in that bubble.
All right.
You're actually not allowed to say Eskimo anymore. That's actually a derogatory term.
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm Catholic.
Inuit.
I'm Catholic. We believe in the Crusades, like all you said, but with Crusades. So.
But you can't fight hate with more hate. No. I'm sorry, Eric Cartman. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You don't fight hate with more hate.
My hat.
So
it will destroy you.
It will, and you can't. You just can't. So cut the crap. You know, like you said, none of these people have done anything that's worth looking at or reading, and I think they know it. You know, well, why not me? Why is my stuff not good enough? I'll destroy it. Go ahead, try.
Like what Levi is saying. Do people that feel less talented feel the need to tear others down?
Yes,
it's crab. It's crab bucket mentality. Yeah.
Yes.
They don't follow that line of thinking to the end, which is, why not me? Why don't people like? Because you suck. And once you know you suck, then the room opens for improvement. Because if you think you're the bee's knees or whatever, you think you're perfect, so you don't study. You have to know you suck to grow.
Yeah, you can't fix what's wrong if you don't know what's wrong.
Exactly, dude.
That's what criticism is for.
Every artist, no matter what art form you're in, you're insecure about something with your art.
Yeah. And other things.
Something about what you do, you feel a little insecure with, whether it's your speed or your talent or your like
size.
Or whatever. Or definitely. But like, there's all these things that like you have insecurities all day, you know.
There's another side of this. If I can jump in, I've mostly kept my mouth shut because I don't know them and I don't even really function in the industry, so I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. But the part that I can speak to is the media response to it, and I'm coming from a journalism background. I'm often disgusted by what the media does, and in this case, it didn't fail to deliver. There's a philosophy in news journalism that has died. It's not around much anymore, and I think it's a philosophy that we need to expect from media, and that's worth expecting, I think, from everybody. And it's the balance of harms. It's the idea that when you're reporting on something, even if you need to report on it, one of the questions you have to ask about reporting on it is this going to hurt more in reporting on it than it would not reporting on it? Mm-hmm. And an example of that would be, let's say there's corruption in a factory in a small town, right? And it turns out that they're stealing from the company. Somebody's embezzling something, and you're going to report on that. But the reality is, when you report on it, you're probably going to close the factory. You're going to end this business because that's how bad the corruption is. And then there's the question of, are you prepared to put 3,000 people who live and work in this town out of work in doing that? That's going to be a consequence of reporting on that. And maybe, you have to. It's bad enough, the corruption's bad enough, or the company's going to go under anyway, like any of those things. But that mentality of having to balance, like, what's the consequence of bringing something like this to light? When should you? What does it mean to bring it to light? It's going to have an effect on someone's life. What happened with Ed happened with people in some of the financial crimes that happened, in 2008 and whatnot. And it's easy. I think this is part of why people do jump on this and start pointing fingers and being vultures, is that it's easy to suddenly feel like you're justified ripping someone to pieces because they've done something bad.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever justified in doing that. That's not how we should be. Our society should not be functioning that way. Our law should not be functioning that way. Luke, your faith and the stories in that book exemplify why you shouldn't do that. Like, there are consequences that are shown in those stories of bearing false witness, going to the mat too quickly, tearing someone down. Like, any of these actions of piling on, being a bad actor in bad faith, have serious detrimental forever consequences. And I feel I should throw that out about the balance of harms, about understanding what it means to accuse someone, all of that.
I like that. It reminds me of I just watched a documentary a few weeks ago about this. You've probably seen the movie Gone Girl. Mm-hmm. But there was a situation over in California where someone was taken and they thought it was a Gone Girl situation. And the media, because the story was so fantastical, like there's like no way. I'm even listening to him, like there's no way that's real, that really happened. And the media just destroyed her and her boyfriend, saying that they created this hoax. And then it turned out they caught a guy and all of this stuff was true. He did it. Like, he really did it. Right. And the retraction is always on the second or third page. It's never on the front page, like the lie.
Yep.
And we're taught in my faith in the book of James that the tongue is powerful, that words have the power of life and death in them, and that the tongue is like a small rudder on a giant ship. It can turn the whole direction of things, culture, your life, that it's like a small spark in a forest that can create a forest fire that burns down the whole thing. And words are vitally important. We know that as storytellers, story crafters. But the media, the news, they're in control of a lot of words, and they don't realize the damage or the good their words can do. This is a sad situation, but it's something we need to be bringing awareness to. And I know Randy and I've talked about. Do you want to talk about that this morning?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't think so. I didn't want to either, but I just didn't know if, since we're on the subject, but we're working on something to help leave the wood pile higher, if you will. And, sad story, but I guess let's move on to some better news.
Yeah, please.
So in better news, yesterday, Disney had their shareholders meeting.
This is great news.
They had their shareholders meeting. Mm-hmm. And
how old is this? Is this accurate?
Yesterday. This is today.
Oh yeah, they shot themselves.
So it's flatlined. Yeah.
Well, it dropped immediately yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So yesterday, that was at their shareholders meeting. They announced that they were not letting that other guy in. The
Nelson Peltz.
It's not like BlackRock, but it's like Blacklight Entertainment.
Blackstone, I think.
Blackstone, something like that.
Yeah, they were not going to. They keep calling him an activist, right?
Yeah,
So
I know, right?
They went out, they
Hilarious.
kept him out, and then Chloe Cole, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Oh, when she called in,
she calls in.
Oh, I saw that,
and
dude.
blast the board. I'm telling you, they got trolled in real time, and they live streamed this to everybody. Which again, there goes the power of video. And dude, they immediately started losing billions of dollars.
3.13% of their stock value dropped
right here. Yeah.
Yep.
As of today, they're down $3.84 a share. That's 3 point of a total market share. Does it show there's total market share on
as of right now? You mean they're down
as of
3
right now?
Yeah,
as of right now.
They were down 3.13 as of close of the bell yesterday, so they're still dropping.
Their market cap is 218 billion. 218 billion. So what's 3% of that? What's 4% of that?
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
That's more money than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
They lost in a day because they're doubling down on their board that's lost them money.
Where's the dip where they announced the Silver Surfer news?
Oh yeah,
that's back here.
Oh,
Silver Surfer's gender bend.
I noticed how they did that after the shareholder meeting too. They're like, because if they did that before that, they would have seen
I'm
that.
sorry, yeah. So that's shareholders here, and I think the Silver Surfer news is around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Who knows? That was such bad news that it might have gone back in time and affected the stock price.
Yeah.
No, you might be right.
Yeah. We have.
It's like a Horcrux of bad news. Take us back to one of these days. They're going to do something that's going to break the space-time continuum, and Disney would have never been born. So,
so I don't know.
So
I don't know if it's an American thing, but I don't care if Disney disappears. Like, I really don't care. Like,
that's why I said this is good news.
Yeah, they haven't been talking to me for years.
Look, they took one of the most beloved and anticipated franchises and made it made everyone completely apathetic towards it. I don't care at all about Star Wars anymore.
Yeah, they don't know.
You guys see my back room, like what I've got back here. I am a Star Wars fan through and through, and I could not give any amount of care at all towards anything new Star Wars that comes out.
Well, I beg to differ. That trash wars that they did with the deep fake with Ethan and all of them, and Shane Davis as Luke Skywalker, that was highly enjoyable.
That was pretty good, I guess.
I haven't enjoyed Star Wars in 30 years like that.
Yeah. So good news, I guess there. Image is bringing. I keep forgetting. I've got the new browser, so I've got to set us up over here like this.
Yeah.
Look at that guy. Look at that beard.
Yeah.
Now that beard and that plaid.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay.
He's a brawny boy.
Yeah.
But right now there's a lot of
he walks all day.
But right now, so as the shareholders are pulling they're crying.
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
So as they're doing that over here, Image brings in a new vice president, a new VP,
Jim Viscardi.
Yeah,
co-founder and executive editor at comicbook.com.
Oh, that's descriptive.
As vice president of business development. Yeah, comicbook.com. Yeah. Little on the whisper side there.
A little bit. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna make a website called comicbookcompany.com so people know what I do.
Yeah. You're gonna start sounding like Jeremy over there. Coffeebraincoffee.com.
Yeah. Viscardi will be charged with growing Image's audience and building business relationships. Viscardi will report to Image publisher and chief creative officer Eric Stephenson, working in tandem with the Image sales and marketing teams.
It means you're a catcher, not a pitcher.
Prior to his 9 years at comicbook.com, which include the sales of the company to CBS Interactive, now Paramount Global, in 2018, Viscardi spent time in sales and marketing roles in Ingram and Marvel. He has a wealth of experience at his disposal, but more than that, a unique perspective that should serve him well in this new role. Stevenson said, yes, he's got an inside view of the Whisper Network.
Is this so cryptic?
I hope he does well. A successful mainstream means a successful indie, because the more people that are coming to comics, the better. I don't wish these things demise. I wish the people that are screwing them up would be fired. I do. Get them out of there. Let people that love the art form and care about it
and want to be there.
Want to be there. Nurture this thing back to health.
I wonder how many people that would leave.
Hopefully this guy's one of the people that cares.
Nope, not very many.
Guys, I don't know if you know this, but we are sending comic books to Ukraine now, because that's what's going to help the war over there. 2 organizations, Games and Comics for Ukraine and Comic Books for Kids, are teaming to gather donations of games and comics to send to children, soldiers, and English students in Ukraine.
There you go.
I'm all for this.
I was under the impression that the Ukraine kids don't speak English, but hey,
that was kind of my first thought.
Yeah,
it's a good way for them to learn English.
Yeah, but there's that.
Especially if they use words like superciliousness in the book.
And English is one of Ukraine's official languages.
You know what? Extra credit to anyone in the chat that can tell me what superciliousness means.
Yeah.
If you know what that word means.
I mean, they won't be able to read at night, but
no. They got no
The organization is seeking donations of surplus inventory of games and comics from U.S. retailers, publishers, and distributors.
Maybe we should send him some. Maybe we should send him a few books, right?
We can send him a case or two.
Yeah, I'll send him a case or 2 books. I can read hybrids.
I was going to say something very inappropriate.
Well, that's par for the course with you.
Yeah. I mean, they can read like with every explosion at night, like just time it perfectly, like and yeah, but I don't know, man. Like,
make sure it's a splash page.
Yeah.
Dr. Ben's correcting. It's not a gender bend. It's an alternate version where Charlotte Ball was the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
What, for like 2 pages?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
they're still gonna put a chick in it.
Yeah, dude. Like,
cool.
And be careful, they might make her gay.
And make it lame.
Well, I thought it was going to be Megan Rapinoe. I called that like a couple months ago.
Yeah,
I was close.
That would have worked.
But
everybody was hoping for Sydney.
Glenn won. It means you think you're
they
superior.
were. I would get behind.
Yes, it does.
Sydney Sweeney is
supercilious.
Any red-blooded male, I think, would get behind Sydney Sweeney. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, they're going with an obscure version of the Silver Surfer when everybody knows.
It's literally everybody knows the Silver Surfer is a bald dude. Come on, man.
Exactly. It's like saying, like, we have Riri Williams. That's Iron Man. Like, no.
Al says, concerning the Ukraine, wow, they want our money and now our comics too.
Yeah, dude.
There you are. Yep.
Never satisfied.
So not spending the money on having them translated then.
No.
You never know.
Yeah.
No.
Glenn is right. Supercilious means that you are that you have an air of
you think
superiority about yourself.
Superior, yeah.
Superciliousness is the attitude of superiority. So very good, Glenn. Look at that.
That explains a lot of mainstream comics. He said in air quotes.
Yeah.
He's typing that from his summer villa.
Yes.
Yeah, well, having him on.
With his pipe and house coat.
Yeah, dude.
It means that you are superior.
Yeah, I love that guy.
How about we donate books to American kids, to kids that are orphaned, hospitals, etc. here in the USA? Just ask them.
That's a good idea.
That would be
comicsforkids.com.
Comicsforkids.com
already does that. Yeah,
they already do that.
That would be good.
They are looking.
They don't do good. Yeah,
they're looking for good family-friendly product. Yeah.
The project was spearheaded by Games and Comics for Ukraine, a new organization founded by David Wheeler of Dragon's Lair and David Dotson.
Dragon's Lair.
Dave and Dave. Hey, this is my brother Dave.
Yeah.
This is my other brother Dave.
This is Dave and Dave. Yeah.
Wheeler reached out to Comic Books for Kids, a 501(c) that distributes comics to kids in hospitals and to troops as a charitable partner for the effort. Comic Books for Kids contributes comics to children in hospitals and cancer centers worldwide, and its sister organization, Comic Books for Troops, does the same for members of the military. You know what I think is really funny? What counts for reporting now is redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, read that sentence. It's a 501(c) that distributes comics to kids in hospitals and to troops. And then it repeats, they distribute comics to children in hospitals and cancer centers. Well, they just elaborate. It's
you guys are stupid.
I'm like, yeah, it's annoying. It's a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
When I read crap like that. Ooh. Skybound builds a management team, guys.
Okay.
Skybound has expanded its management team with five new hires, including a top comics editor and 2 senior video game executives, and a promotion to officer level, the company announced today. And a promotion to officer.
This is kind of interesting that they're hiring video game people.
Yeah, that was the first.
You know where they're going with this now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
World domination.
Ben Abernathy, most recently a group editor at DC with oversight of the Batman titles and the Elseworlds imprint relaunch, has joined Skybound as executive editor, where he will oversee the Energon universe. Energon, and develop a new line of comics originals. Abernathy started at Dark Horse in the late 90s and spent the bulk of his ensuing decades at DC with stops at Marvel and at Madefire. What the heck was Madefire? Where he was editor-in-chief.
I like his work.
Never heard of Madefire.
I at least like his recent work. This is a good hire.
I don't trust his face.
Ooh, look at Blake.
Yeah.
That's some nice hair, man.
Yeah.
That's like
Skybound's senior director. Business development.
He's sponsored by some brand of shampoo.
I know.
Maybe
it reminds me of
Maybelline.
what's his name, Mark Miller.
He does look a little bit like Mark.
Yeah.
He was last IDW Publishing as SVP of Sales, Marketing, and Strategy. After a 7-year stretch at DC in sales and marketing roles. In his new position, Kobashigawa will work on expanding Skybound sales outside of traditional distribution channels, creating new strategic partnerships and managing licensor relations, retailer executive variant cover programs, foreign licensing, and Skybound says even more.
So here's the thing about the marketing people that bounce from one company to the next. I don't blame them for the state of comics.
Nope.
They're just marketing.
Yeah.
Like they're there to sell it. They're high level salespeople, right?
Yeah. They polish the turd.
They polish the turd. In many cases, they do a great job of selling gruel. You know.
Yeah, fertilizer would be better.
He's the Fabio of comics.
He is. Here we go. Alex Hargett is Skybound's new director, brand editorial, a role in which she will lead day-to-day sales and marketing for publishing, charged with expanding bookseller and librarian relationships. She was hired at IDW Publishing as book and mass sales director in 2020.
Those people get around.
And she left as VP of sales last year. She also spent time in sales. Well, the only way that you can get a pay increase is to move to a new company.
Yeah.
There's no such thing like, as
growing.
Yeah, being able to grow in a single spot anymore.
Yeah.
That's why the freelance artist does so well, especially when you're not working for the big two, because you don't have to wait 60 or 90 day net to get paid off your voucher. You get paid right away. I like getting paid right away.
Yeah.
She also spent time in sales and marketing at DC and in something else that you moved too fast for.
Look at that face.
Yeah.
Arun Singh.
He looks like one of my cousins. I don't like him.
I thought that
he's
that
a
was
handsome
the bad
guy.
guy from the first Iron Man movie.
He's the vice president and editorial. He's hired as director, brand editorial in 2021.
I would cast him to play a villain.
That cousin owes me money, man.
Oh, come on. He's got kind of a kind face.
He does look like a James Bond villain, though.
That's why I would cast him as a villain, because he looks just nice enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the guy. No.
Like that's a 24 villain for like Jack Bauer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Look, he's got a face for TV. I don't know why he's in comics.
Yeah, that's true.
After a stretch as VP of Marketing at Boom Studios, he also managed a rapidly expanding brand team to handle Skybound's growing publishing output.
I love Boom Studios, guys.
Yeah.
I think they do good work.
They work with Keanu, right?
Yeah. New executive hires both from video game giants, including Chris Paulson, who joined Skybound as executive vice president and general manager of games publishing. He was most recently at Blizzard Entertainment, where he was vice president, product management, Diablo.
Yeah.
Jeff he was vice president, product management, and Diablo.
He was a Diablo. It's El Diablo, they called him.
Oh, okay.
Diablo, yeah.
El Diablo.
Jeff Chaikin has joined Skybound as senior vice president, head of corporate development and strategy. He comes to Skybound after 9 years at video game giant Electronic Arts, where he had
a lateral move too.
Lateral move, but yeah,
same role.
Yeah.
But he probably got more money for it.
And another video game guy that's interesting.
Yep, because they are developing games. That's good news. That's interesting, guys.
And Skybound's able to stretch out now that they've got Transformers and G.I. Joe. That's
what I'm saying. Like the Skybound imprint is
anchoring
just be,
retailers. Yeah.
The Energon thing, or are they going to introduce more things into that?
Oh, who's her friend? Robbie.
Yeah. So 2 more articles. We'll move through these quick, and then we're going to get into our subject for the day.
Here's your pal Rob.
Yeah.
My good buddy Rob.
Good buddy.
You know, there is a strong chance that if Rob and I just met and hung out, that I would like him.
Yeah,
he would probably hate me. He would hate me, but I would like him because I like most people that I meet and sit down with.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can find a way, like the thing about them that's endearing. But he would not like me.
This is the story of my life.
I'm sure of it. This is interesting. Wolverine gets a new credited co-creator, guys.
Huh.
Yeah. They swapped that around a little bit. A couple of sad farewells. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, a couple of sad farewells. I was mostly interested in the additional credit. So let's go ahead and go with Robbie Boys.
Lots of news in the world of comics this week. Some sad, some shocking, all noteworthy due to the velocity and variety of the news that just broke over the last few days. Apologies for the inconsistencies in tone as I address each of these items. R.I.P. Bob Bierbaum. Let's begin with a goodbye to one of the pioneers of the direct market and longtime fixture on the collector and retailing scene, Robert Bob Bierbaum, who lost his fight with cancer last week at the age of 72. Bob was nothing if not outspoken on just about every subject in the ambit of the comics business, from his long and successful crusade to extend the history of comics backwards from the 1930s to the Platinum and Victorian ages to his pointed reminiscences about the early days of collecting. As news of his passing spread, he was eulogized by a wide range of creators and comic historians who valued his uncompromising perspective and vast, if selective, memory. Oh, that was vicious. That's not nice, Rob. Jeez.
Yeah.
Family health and financial concerns forced Bob off the convention circuit in the 2010s, but he was very active online. He frequently shared anecdotes from his long gestating, but still unpublished memoir, Comic Store Wars, and raised some very uncomfortable questions about the provenance of Silver Age original artwork that began turning up at conventions in the late 1960s. Even Bob's fiercest defenders acknowledged he was both opinionated and relentless, which sometimes made for an exhausting combination. Others who remember doing business with him recount his unsurpassed talent for burning bridges. Hopefully the example of his... Yeah, how do you like that? Yeah. The guy's dead, dude. You can't be nice.
God.
Hopefully the example...
Screw you, Rob.
The example of his courageous final days, staring down at terminal diagnosis with his personal passion undiminished and his voice still clear, softened some of the hard opinions that formed about him from the past. This man was incredibly passionate about comics, about the art form, and he had, if you have Facebook and have the time, traveling down through his timeline, there's all sorts of great little bits, and maybe they're not all 100% recollections, but he didn't have to be this mean.
I don't believe in speaking ill of the dead, especially like what good does saying he was a hard person to work with and he was exhausting? What good does that do anybody?
Yeah.
Let's just say, look, he contributed a lot. He was very passionate, and it was a sad loss this week.
Come on, Rob, you're better than that.
Yeah. I don't believe I met Bob personally, but man, if we had half of his passion. And if you read his posts on Facebook, you'll see he loved comics. He loved every bit, everything about comics. If we had half of his passion, comics would still be in a golden age. I'm telling you right now.
True.
I thought the picture was this guy that passed away, not Rob's picture.
No, that's Rob.
Why do you have to put his picture so big?
He puts his picture on
he loves himself.
Ego.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I can tell. I've been reading.
I would find, RJ says, I'll finds a way. I'll find a way. Yeah.
What's that snick sound I hear?
Oh, let's find out. Well, we just lost one of the forefathers of comics retail from the past half century. One of the era's most popular characters just gained a new parent. Over the weekend, we got the news that Marvel Studios is giving a full creator credit on Wolverine to Roy Thomas.
What?
Alongside long acknowledged creator Len Wein and John Romita Sr. Let's say this news was not welcomed with unbridled enthusiasm among comics professionals online, with former Marvel editor Bobby Chase and outspoken pros like Mark Waid questioning the timing of this announcement, given that everyone else with firsthand knowledge of the situation, besides Roy himself, is now deceased. Both Roy and his manager, John Cimino, whatever, were singled out for criticism over credit theft and, by implication, theft of any revenues that might come with the creator billing. More than a few people raised eyebrows at the precedent this sets of staff editors being awarded creator credits on characters that appeared during their watch. Rather than give my own less than informed opinion, I wasn't there when Wolverine was being created, and neither were you. I thought it would be helpful to get Roy Thomas himself on the record. Those interested can find my interview with Roy on Forbes today. He was extremely forthcoming and answered everything I put to him. I'm just going to leave the link here and duck. Probably for the best. He covers the extra situation.
The thing with Wolverine, he was an accident. Like 3/4 of Marvel's successful characters, they're just big accidents. He wasn't even meant to go any farther than an incidental character in Hulk to fill in a little patch between Wendigo and some other large monster that they had planned on Hulk meeting. They needed some break in between, so they created Wolverine as an accident. And him landing in a giant-sized X-Men was because it was convenient. They threw him into the group because they needed somebody international, and Xavier went around and collected an international team.
Let's throw a Canadian in there.
Here's a guy in Canada. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we've got Crom here today.
Yeah.
We needed somebody. We needed more international. Yeah.
But I answered a question. I answered a question on Facebook why he had the original yellow and blue costume. It's because University of Michigan's colors were
the
gold and blue, and their mascot's a Wolverine. So when it came time, the colorist probably asked, "What am I going to color this character named Wolverine?" Well, Michigan U of M's got Wolverine, and their colors are blue and gold. So boom, he ended up with a tiger costume. That's how it worked.
That's how it works. Back in the 19th century, well-meaning social philosopher Jeremy Bentham conceived of a prison called a panopticon, where all the cells faced a central courtyard. Pardon me.
So the inmates could be constantly observed. Since there was no way of knowing whether the wardens were observing a prisoner at any given moment, everyone inside the prison acted under the assumption that they were under surveillance at all times. Other incarceration, at all times. This was intended to be a more humane alternative to other incarceration methods. It was eventually abandoned because it was driving the inmates mad. No one can live their lives like that. Under constant surveillance. We all live our lives under constant.
Yeah,
that's his point.
Before the news came out, I had some thoughts on what the loss of Piscor and Jim Rugg's popular YouTube channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe, might mean for the business. When I believed that was the extent of the damage likely to come from the revelations. Needless to say, that can wait. I'll close this column in the way I opened it, with sincere condolences to the loved ones of the flawed but genuine person they and we have lost.
Yeah, I wanted to read that. That reflection of that story of that prison, because that is how we live. We live on under constant surveillance, and it is driving people mad.
Yep.
Yeah, we're living under constant surveillance of unworthy people because they don't have the right to point the finger at anyone. But somehow we feel trapped. Like, I don't get it.
Giant theft was dispersed before discovery.
Yeah, Mark Wheatley and Mark Hempel.
Yeah.
Mark with a K, Mark with a C. Yeah. So hard K, hard C.
The Marks
are seeing the return of a large trove of art by Insight Studios creators that was stolen years ago and dispersed to buyers before the theft was discovered. The theft was discovered in 2022 when a Johnny Quest story by Wheatley and Hempel turned up in a heritage auction, according to fellow Insight Studio member J.C. Vaughn on Scoop.
Scoop.
An investigation showed that thousands of pages of original art had been sold into the original art market. The art roughs, reference materials, photocopies, and logo designs were stolen from the Insight Studios warehouse and kept in their original boxes when sold. Nice. The thief passed away in 2015, still owning the art trove, which had been hidden for a number of years, Wheatley explained. His heirs sold the art, and once the theft became known, the people who purchased the estate came forward and have assisted in the recovery process. Some collectors have already returned art, and others are being contacted regarding their purchases. None of the purchasers knew the art was stolen. The good part is how many collectors have come forward to return art to help trace the art. Wheatley said, "We have the best fans." Very nice.
And here's an inventory.
That's a big.
Wow.
He sat on that stolen trove of art.
Yep.
His whole life, man.
Man.
He stole that. He didn't steal that for money. He stole that because he was a fan.
He took boxes of stuff. Look at that.
Oh my god,
dude!
Holy cow!
Dude, like how the collectors came together and like, dude, like this is wrong and gave it back. Like this is an uplifting story.
Especially they probably spent a lot of money on it.
2 issues of Mars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is crazy.
Page, yeah.
So
Unreal.
good news that collection's getting back home.
I felt good in that one.
It's a lot better than what most artists get from thefts like that.
Yeah. So now that we've gone through the news, we're warmed up. You know, we've been in this a little over an hour.
Yeah.
We got through the rough stuff for this week, so we can start focusing on positivity and growth and doing some really positive things for all of you. And one of those things is helping everyone be able to sell their books better. I was on with Art T. Bear last night and the Pontificators and had a great conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Sorry I couldn't make it, man. I was
it's all right.
watching the replay. I was watching
I allowed a little bit of my personality to show in the group. He showed the cover of an ash can he has, and I was like, "Wow, that's really good. Who drew that? Like that looks like a professional."
Nice.
Yeah, and kind of got a chuckle out of him, but I hopefully he didn't think I was being disrespectful.
No, dude. Like that crew, those guys they look old, but they're fun.
Yeah, and I got that sense, and I'm a big goober as it were, and so but I had a good time talking about my comic with them and kind of going over some stuff. But one of the things that came up was how the industry has changed. And, he was kind of musing on the idea that he didn't, like, he's had to almost start over learning how to do the crowdfunding thing. And yeah, he's brought an audience with him, but he's had to learn how to do this independent publisher thing that he didn't have to be. He relied on the big guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, one of the things that I didn't realize how dependent I was on Marvel, on someone else selling it, and then me just getting paid from
just a cog in the great machine.
Yeah. And so he goes, but it's way more fulfilling to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard part is selling. Like, everyone is talking about the distribution. That comics, we all know that the distribution model of comics is what suffers. I've been watching Breaking Bad with my kid, like I talked about a couple weeks ago, and his biggest thing was distribution. I can make the blue stuff all day, but how are we going to get it out? How are we going to sell it? And that seems to be the one element in anything that you do, any industry, that tends to be the biggest holdup is, how do you sell the product and move it? How are you going to get it to fans? How are you going to get people to see it? Right. And so that has sparked a lot of conversation and a lot of focus from us here on this panel, and from the businesses that we run. Fund My Comic, Lucastone Studios, mostly Fund My Comic, really. We're focusing on that. But that's where we bring, where we find a guy like Crom, who is, in my opinion, a genius when it comes to this. And maybe I'm being too generous, but I don't think so. Because I think anybody that understands how to market anything has got a bigger grasp on life than I do. Because I don't know how to reach people as well as I would like to. So a couple weeks ago, Crom, he came on. It's one of our most watched episodes that we ever had. The shorts, the bacon bits that came out of it, were wildly popular. We had a lot of content. One of the things we talked about was videos. Mm-hmm. The reason why Hojo's here today is because Hojo utilized video very well. But even having said that, I think he could have utilized the video even better. And I think maybe you do too. So we're going to talk about video today. Crom.
Yeah.
What is the number one problem with the majority of the videos that you see right now on crowdfunding campaigns? If you can single it down to one thing, what would that one thing be?
I think the effect, there's a number of different effects going on. So there's one problem I think that's central, but it has a bunch of expressions, right? Like the consequence of the problem comes out in a few different ways. And I think that's a misunderstanding of what video does, right? And we talked about that a little earlier. We kind of quickly mentioned it, right? What does the tool do? What is its effect on consumers? And because that is not well understood, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I have like a perfect knowledge of what it does. What we're dealing with here is you have to test things. You have to, this is something that anybody, if you're starting a YouTube channel, gets recommended. If you look at all the YouTube gurus, they'll go through the same set of advice, really. You have to make things, you have to see what works, and then you have to adapt, right? So they all say that same thing. And part of that is because they don't really have a surefire method, nor do I think there ever will be. This is something that moves around so much as far as what people like, their tastes, what the algorithm is doing. All of that is affecting the outcome so often and so rapidly in any given day that there's never going to be, I think, one particular formula or something that's going to work. So you're always going to have to be testing. But when I see different lengths or different effects people are going for, when I say effect, what I mean by that is when I tell you, or when someone makes a video and they, for instance, tell a joke at the beginning of it, they're looking for an effect, right? Every one of those things they do is trying to create an emotional change in the audience, right? They're going to set something up. They're going to tell a joke. They're going to tell a story. They're going to switch contexts. That's all about getting an emotional response from the people watching. So when I say effects, that's what I'm talking about, the effect you have on people and that you create. And more often than not, watching a lot of these trailers, I don't know if people know what effect they're going for, or if they are going for a particular kind of effect, if they know what the tool's doing at that moment. So there's a lot of stuff happening that I think people do in video because they've seen other people do it. They assume it's effective and they just mimic it. And I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of trailers where I'm like, I don't even know what I just watched. Like, I'm putting on my dumb consumer hat, like where I'm like, I'm going to pretend to be someone who knows absolutely nothing right now about this product or about what's going on. So I'll put that hat on and I watch it. And I'm like, I just watched maybe 60 seconds, maybe 3 minutes, and I don't know what I just watched. Right. So there's a lot of scattershot. So sorry, I'm babbling now to your question, but yes, I would say it's a misunderstanding of how to apply the tool that results in all kinds of different outcomes, right? All kinds of different videos.
So using that, we got Hojo here. I think the one thing that people noticed most about your first campaign was your video. Yep. And no offense, but your second video was not near as good as the first one. It was okay. It was good, but it wasn't.
The first one had to be the big hook.
You got the effect. So have you seen the video, Crom?
Yeah.
All right.
I sent it to him because it okay.
So for our audience, maybe who haven't seen it, I can't imagine anyone out there hasn't at this point that is watching this show.
It can get you struck because Good Stuff used some kind of something with the music that he pays for or something.
Yeah, and that's all right. We get struck at the very beginning.
I said it to Crom ahead of time, so
because we've mentioned suicide.
Yeah,
we won't be able to monetize this show at all. So we're gonna need your help, guys. Need your help if you want to throw us a tip or something out there. That'd be nice. But this show won't be paying the bills for us at all. The shorts might, but this
I haven't
we
seen
can't
this
monetize this one. Yeah. So just so in case you haven't seen it, let's go ahead and watch this video, and we'll analyze it bit by bit. Crom, you just stop me when you see something you want to talk about. Okay?
Sure.
In a world where creatures of myth and legend exist, a covert task force is charged with keeping humanity safe from supernatural threats. And when young Nancy Moon stumbles into the eternal battle between good and evil, she finds... Oh my God, will you shut up? What's happening? Agent Beckett here. Aren't you tired of stuff like that? Want something different? Roll the tape. Whoops. Sorry about that. That's a song I'm ready to next.
Okay. Does anybody know what this is yet?
No.
Like if we put our hat on, we put our dumb consumer hat on. I keep saying dumb. They're not dumb, but
it's in a world.
It's in a world. So there's something going on. There's some kind of story. Horror has been implied.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a sense of genre. But just so everyone knows why I told you to stop right here, this is about the minute mark. I don't see a timer, so I kind of guessed when you were at about the minute mark.
58 seconds.
Cool.
Yeah.
We are right now going to lose half of the people watching.
Yep.
This is just video in general. So it's not about what it is. Just so everyone's aware that like this is how video functions. That pretty much it's almost 100% of videos will lose half of their audience halfway through. Or sorry, not halfway. After a minute. 60 seconds was the number. Sorry. And then every like 10 seconds is another 50% of that audience. So most things by like 90 seconds have bled to death.
Yep.
It's very rare for a video to hold on to people that long. And it's like a golden goose if you can actually get a video to hold on to people. And that's why, like, when you watch things like Hilliard Smith talks about this, and he's the guy that used to edit for Jake Paul and Mr. Beast, all these guys. If you ever watch them talking about how they edit, the first 60 seconds of anything they create is really fascinating to watch, because they'll get a hook in, they try to get a bit of a story in, and they actually try to get a turn in, all in that 60 seconds.
Explain what a turn is.
So a turn would be if you, let's say you were, this is the most current affair cheesy turn I'm going to drop on you. Let's say you were watching a short doc about a performing arts high school, and the person's like, here's what it is, here's all the students that go to it, here's the kind of art they put out, and they're about to be shut down. That's a turn, right? Like I have just tilted the whole story. So a turn is going to be when you've been given context and you understand what's happening, and then there's some kind of serious turn on what's going conflict on. It's a setup and there's a payoff, and the payoff usually will give you like an emotional kick, but also recontextualize the story. So we call that.
To kind of, I just want to translate that a little bit for the writers in the room, right? So that's what we would call like your conflict, or it's like, yeah, it's the part of the story that creates the tension. So it's the tension of the story. It's what draws you in. It creates the stakes. It's essential to storytelling.
And when you're watching, like, or you're reading about like how to write comics, any of that, they always talk about try to end the page on like a turn occurring. Like you want to have that set up so that tension. People get a setup, then the tension opens, and then you're answering it on the next page. Like they try to break it down into those mini versions as well.
Yeah,
anyway,
we do that.
The reason they're trying to do all that in 60 seconds is because if they can get through that emotional change in a person, they've got them. That's usually their mark for how they like really dig a hook into someone. So why I stopped here at a minute, and I'm not here to bag on anything. Please do not think that's where I'm going with this.
No joke can handle it.
This is about refinement, where we're just trying to make things better. That's what's going on here. Is I would say when I think of the whole of your video, I'm like, good concept, turns things on its ear, kind of shocks people by saying like, oh yeah, you've heard this a million times. Let's stick a fork in it. All I would say is compress it.
Do it faster. Yep.
Like do that whole turn in the first 10 seconds. So set up, guy starts talking, bang, aren't you tired of this? What have you? And that's all because when we start to lose audience, we're in trouble. So we want to make sure we can get as much of the hook in as possible, as early as possible. And that goes like to a lot of the stuff I've seen out there trailer wise. Similar problem. Like people take too long to get to the point often. Like they haven't set up what it is. So I don't know what I'm looking at. Like as far as like, is it a horror comic? Is it an adventure comic?
We still don't know that this is a comic book at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of why that happens is that often this is sitting on a landing page for a comic.
Yeah.
So most of the time people are thinking like, well, you have a context already. Here's the only problem with that. The biggest value of video in marketing is that it can be shared. So someone can go like, that was great. I'm going to send it to my buddy. I'm going to send it to Billy. So Billy gets it. Billy starts watching it. Billy is screwed because Billy doesn't have the context of the landing page. He has no idea what this is. Maybe if you told him, I just looked at this comic, it looks pretty rad. Here's the trailer for it. Maybe his friend gave him the context when they did the share. Frankly, I have people who share things to me all the time on like Instagram for some reason. They give me no context. I get nothing. And you don't want to have to depend on that, right? You really don't want to have to hope that whoever's sharing it does all the setup for you. You want that to be in the video. You want that to be crystal clear. So that's where the rubber hits the road with this problem is you want people to share it. That's going to be a huge effect of pushing out from your original audience into people that you didn't even know you could reach if they're sharing it, and now they're potential customers. But if the context isn't in it, they're not going to do anything with that, right? So that's one part of that. So I'd say, getting all of that, I would say get it into 60 seconds completely.
Oh yeah, that was the goal in the second trailer.
Yeah, get it, and that's not an easy thing. Like that's a kick in the ass. But I suppose the one advantage is we do live in a fairly media savvy world. That might be giving too much. People have seen a lot.
Yes.
People have a lot of experience with media, so you can depend on that to frame their mind a bit when you're making these videos. You want to keep going?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's more like it. Alrighty. Welcome to the world of the mythicals. We have it all. Monsters, magic, government agents. He's the strong silent type. This guy. Ugh, gross, dude. Get some kind of cream or something. Lots of 90s style action. Pew pew pew. And that strong female lead alluded to earlier. Not to mention a dashing field commander with a great sense of fashion. Look at those glasses. South River Studios presents The Mythicals, Issue 1. Buy it, if you dare. Ugh. Will you can it already? How'd you get free? Now beat it before I lose my cool. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today. Like right now.
Sign up today on Indiegogo.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I'd say might be to go a little higher concept. And what I mean by that is even if you straight up said like evil vampires have emerged from the graveyard, these are here to kill them. That you had some of that there, like that was at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it just sometimes you have to drill that thing right into the ground, right into people's brains to be nice and clear. Like I go to film teasers a lot because those are people trying to make millions of dollars off of this. And I think about like the Hellboy teaser.
Yeah.
The Hellboy teaser kind of sucks. but what's interesting about it is the narrator literally says, like, an ancient evil has returned. This group of people are going to fight them. And then they use John Hurt's line, there are things that go bump in the night.
Oh,
the ones who bump back.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a killer line. It was a perfect one to put in the trailer. So that's all I'd say is, like when I say higher concept, I mean abstracting the story a bit more, right? Like in that way that going to like, there is ancient evil. These are the people that fight them. That's going a bit more abstract and up out of the details kind of thing. And that's it. I think you got a great concept there. I think it's just speed probably was the only thing I'd recommend.
And knowledge on how all of this worked.
Yeah.
At the time, I tried to study as much as I could, and the trailer concept came from watching generic trailers, bad trailers. The line where he says, "Oh my God, will you shut up?" That was after I watched a trailer for a comic. I was like, "Oh my God, will you shut up?" Because it started in a world. I'm like, yeah, they're all in worlds.
Yeah, and the other reason I would say speed is your friend in that moment is to not fall into the same trap where somebody thinks it's like that it's another one of those. So you just don't give them time to be like, oh God, I'm hearing another version like this. You set it up and then you hit it right away with that turn of no, we're going against that pattern.
Yeah.
Just quickly so they don't turn it off, really, is what it boils down to. They don't think that they're watching another one and just leave.
Yeah, it's so I think kind of with videos, what I've been seeing is they're not thinking of telling the story of its own. They're thinking of it as kind of a companion piece to their campaign pages.
Yeah.
and not really seeing the full scope of what they could be doing with those videos. If you can get people to play those videos, I'm trying to find the file for the Robert E. Howard one. I'm just gonna play one of the kind of prompts that we gave Randy and Russ on the trailer for the Robert E. Howard, the Cull book, was to, it's called Cull Campaign. That's why I couldn't find it. Hold on. I want to look through. I kind of want to look through that one because that's a much shorter video, but I feel it might miss some of the grabby elements, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But I think one of the things that I'm finding with the videos these days is that people are not taking in consideration that they can use that on more than just their campaign page. And so,
when
you advertise that it's only Indiegogo, or that's why I've been emphasizing creating your own landing page to create your own mailing list, because then that video can become evergreen, right?
That's
your video
the
right now
version of mine. It was it just says back at today. It doesn't even, the final one never even said anything about the platform.
Right. Yeah. And
it'd be worth just having like your URL, like your website, and then handle it on the website end, like direct traffic on your end. That way you can just push people to your stuff.
Yeah, like come see what we got, kind of thing. It's we spend a lot of money on these things. When we, pay Pedro.
And if I may interject on that point, I saw someone on John's channel kind of bragging that they didn't spend a lot of money on it. And then I watched it and I'm like, you should stop bragging about that.
You can tell that you didn't spend a lot of money on it. Yeah. So let's take a look at, and I'm just going to, I can't find the file. So I'll just play it from the side note here. So it's going to take us over for a little bit, but it's only like 37 seconds. So we can talk about it after it's done.
In the time before Atlantis sank and the lands of the world were savage and untamed, one man would claim his destiny. Leaving his Atlantean tribe behind and throwing off the shackles of Lemurian bondage, he sailed the seas as a pirate captain before seizing his place as a king. And now that he has the throne, how long will he be able to keep it? This is The Shadow Kingdom, the classic sword and sorcery tale by Robert E. Howard, adapted by Randy Zimmerman, with artwork by Russ Leach. Available now at fundmycomic.com.
Short, to the point.
There's something interesting about this, and it's the editing. You use the salts for every transition, and that makes the video seem longer, even though it's not. So it helps with the exposition. So I don't know if you guys did that. I don't know, like as a decision, or was it like a happy coincidence? But guys, this is how you make 37 seconds look longer. Because since you feel it's more time, you pay more attention to what Randy's saying. So it's all about editing, not so much like I need 3 minutes to expose whatever. So this
sometimes use a word that nobody knows or is not familiar with anymore, like Marian bondage.
Yeah.
They're like, what's that mean?
Lemurian bondage.
Lemurian bondage.
You're talking about effect, right? Like when I was describing it earlier, like that's why, as Pedro's pointing out, you might smash cut to something because you go from a dissolve into a smash because you're like, I'm about to smash the gas pedal is what you're about to do.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to kick into a bunch of high energy change, right? And know that that's what it does. It does high energy. So then if someone's out there and they're like, oh, everything I do is just hard cuts.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're creating an energy then. Do you mean to be?
Exactly. And
you might not
that's only two transitions, guys. Like camera placement. How do you relate from one camera angle to another camera angle within the sequence? That affects messaging. So like maybe you don't want to spend too much money on your videos, and you can see that as a plus. But if you get with somebody who knows what he's doing, he can make you a product that would be more effective, which is what we want.
Yeah, and this drives home that point of, do you have a target audience?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know your genre? Have you thought about those ideas and laid them out? Because they'll affect everything, right? There's an energy and a kind of pace to, like, if it's a horror comic, there's an energy and a pace to horror that you have to adhere to, or people can't. They either won't feel the horror or they can't take it seriously. Like, that affects everything. And I would say, before you even start thinking about a trailer, ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Who is it targeted for? What do I want them to feel?
Yeah.
And that's going to inform a lot.
I think what was really successful, Hojo, with your video. Now, you leveraged that video to get a lot of backers. I mean,
that was more of me, like a trailer for me too, because like I can be serious, and most people think I'm, I guess, a super serious person, but I am not. Like, I love to laugh, I love to joke, I love to poke fun at things, like parody. Like I Deadpooled. That was my Deadpool trailer. Like, I Deadpooled all of the indie comic stuff because they're like, it's a clip show, it's heavy metal, it's I was like, no.
Well, that video came at a time when that's kind of all we were getting.
I know.
And you broke the mold, and it was so jarring that I think people watched it through anyway. But at the time, there was a lot more shill shows where people would come on, and you would have to do trailers and things like that, which can be very effective. But there's it still requires you being present to explain a lot more.
Especially when I'm sitting there and it starts, and they're like, and it starts in a world, and you can see people on the panel, and they're rolling their eyes, they're looking. I'm like, that's what I want you to do right now. And then, like, when the needle scratches, and then Pedro's magic happens, they're like, "Oh my god, I love this!"
Yeah,
and
so it was definitely a breath of fresh air. Yeah. But your book isn't comedic, but you used a comedic approach.
He is the narrator.
To sell the book, which was effective. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
And you made over $10,000 on a 28-page book?
24.
24-page book. Your very first floppy, you made over $10K on. No one knew who you were.
Nope. They do now.
Yeah, they do now. They do now, right?
Issue 2 is already outfunded issue 1. I mean, I'm not bragging, but step back. That didn't happen in the mainstream, dude.
No.
Like, issue 1 of Youngblood, everybody had it. What's issue 2 look like? What's the cover look like? Don't know. I think, like we were talking last night, maybe it's got like Rock Slide or whatever's the big guy on it. Maybe
that's kind of braggy, Hojo. Just saying.
It's a humble brag,
but it's worth noting, right?
Yeah,
because that's what we all want to do, right? We want to find the marketing, the way to sell our book, to the point to where the people that bought it before come back for number 2, and then we expand that audience to find even more people. So you knew who your target audience was. I know that you did a lot of hustle.
Yeah, but you know what, Hojo? That's just not a brag. That's a natural fact. Because it did happen.
Yes. And like I did the trailer for part 2. I was like, all right, the first thing I knew, I was like, it's way too long. I knew it was long when I did it the first time, but I'm like, I'm going to have to Michael Jackson Thriller this.
Yeah.
And then with issue 2, we're going to condense it a little bit. Yeah. We're going to still keep that theme. There's still a cassette tape in there. There's still some heavy metal, but it's a different narrator. And you find out it's the cat at the end. And you're like, he hates these people.
You should have animated the cat. That's my only complaint is you should have, because I didn't get that it was the cat until he said meow at the end.
I know.
Okay, I didn't tell Luke to say this. All right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Just
as a consumer, Hojo, that pissed me off.
I know.
I was like, I wanted to see animation, so you kind of let me down on the second trailer because I was expecting the animation magic from the first one. But again, there's budgets, right?
Yes, budgets.
It really comes down to
overhead.
What can I afford to put in there?
Yeah. Here's a little inside baseball for anybody looking to get into this industry. The printers will print as much as you want, but you have to sell them.
Yep. You got to sell it, right?
You got the money. They got the
So let's get back to the elements that make a trailer super effective. Okay. Sometimes cognitive dissonance does. You know, you think you're expecting one thing, and then you pull that twist in there. That was a good idea. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is the visuals, the fast cuts. Mm-hmm. With the Shadow Kingdom, it's the dissolves. It's even the narration brings me back to that classic old time Silver Age comic books, Golden Age comic books kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. It brings me back to that era. So I think it does a good job of grabbing that target audience, in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, and it's something interesting to think about, because I was talking with John over at John's Long Box about his comic and his trailer and whatnot, and he made his comic particularly to be like a 70s, 80s era comic, and talking about the narration in his trailer, it was like, okay, well then there's a kind of way to speak and present that will speak to that era, but that defines your audience somewhat. Like, be aware that there will be an age cutoff that suddenly occurs there, because it's not as though no one who's younger than 30 or 35 would buy the comic. No one younger than that has that sensibility, that like 70s, 80s comic sensibility.
Yeah,
I'm being very unilateral. I'm making very broad statements, but I'm doing that because there's always going to be edge cases. There will always be people who are young, who have read old comics, who fall into this. But we have to deal with the middle of the bell curve when we're talking about selling stuff. We got to deal with the main audience, which will often be these very general groups of people. So if you're talking about a trailer that is like, let's for instance that you did a trailer that was like an old Shadow radio play. You remember the Shadow, right? And the radio plays that are with that. Well, the moment you start doing that, there's a certain age group that will look at that as kitsch or stupid, right? Because they don't know that there's a style being presented. They just think, that's not what I'm used to, or not what I like.
That's old.
And, it's old, and they're gone, right? And you're not really going to be able to beat that, which is fine as long as you know, well, okay, they're not in the target audience. Like, I'm targeting the people who will know what this is, and that's why it will appeal to them, and they want that. So that's the effect we're going for.
Now, maybe if we wanted to reach another audience, you create a second trailer.
Yeah,
that is going to be geared towards what they would find interesting. So it matters, and maybe you don't just have one trailer. Maybe you have 2 or 3 trailers. Like we've got 2 bumpers for Fund My Comic. Yeah. One of them that we use primarily, and I don't even think I have the second one on here anymore because I don't use it. I didn't use it that often, and I needed to change it. But it's basically a Google search, and it searches, and then it goes, crowdfunding.
Wait, but I have a question though for Crom. So what if the product asks for like a dated tone? For example, like I'm working on this noir book, and the narration is screaming for "in a time." See, what do you want, copper? Yeah. So maybe the product will inform, and even it sounds anachronic, it fits the product well. You know what I mean? So maybe.
Sorry, you mean it sounded anachronistic?
Yeah, like anachronistic, like doing like a noir.
And the funny thing, that whole like we're talking like this. See that was only like one actor,
one person.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's become an impression, right? It's become an impression of a whole era. Yeah. So what's happened there is you actually have to watch yourself if you're thinking about a target audience, because that's actually not. I mean, not that there's that many people left alive who were watching movies then, but that's an impression that younger people have of that era. So because it's like an abstraction and a kind of impersonation of almost a joke, that changes the target audience, because it's not people who watched Cagney doing his thing on screen. It's people's impression of that era. And then you have to
it makes your pulp campy. It's like this clip.
How can he close me up? On what ground?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
You see, that's
It's funny, but it's that pacing, that timing. So you can use that pacing and timing, but when you start doing things that become a character of the genre that you're trying to, which is why I like the Cole campaign trailer, because it's not making a character of it.
No, not really.
It just touches with the language and with the music in the background is well thought out. That's the thing. It was well thought out.
Actually, like I would like not for YouTube or anywhere. Just take out the music it has and put the Basil Perales, I don't know if you say his name like that, Conan soundtrack behind it.
Oh yeah, Polidorus.
We couldn't.
That'd be a glorious copyright strike right there.
Yeah, exactly. As an experiment,
horribly murdered.
I know it will fit perfectly. Like I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name.
Like so, for instance, with Hojo, what I liked about, like what I saw was effective with yours is people were accidentally parodying themselves. It's kind of like the Barbie movie, right? So the director, super woke, wanted to make this, had this agenda in the storytelling, and all of a sudden, this character Ken emerges as this based male, like hero, like men are like, I'm, Knuff, they're wearing these shirts.
He was the star of the Barbie movie, and
he was the star of it, and it was not supposed to be. And I remember, like, when we were talking about it, it's like, well, they either are so woke that they don't realize that they're a joke, or they're parodying. It's a parody of wokeness, and it turned out to be the latter. I mean, the former rather than the latter on that one. That sometimes you get in this place where you hit all of the cliches, you hit all of the tropes, that you become a parody of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so you knew that, like, man, if I do this like everybody else, it's gonna be drowned in the noise. It's going to be cliche, and it's not going to take itself serious. So let me go ahead and not take it serious from the beginning, so that people do take it serious.
Yeah.
So if I laugh first about it, then the laughter can get over with. It's why the movie The Room has become, they're like, okay, let's laugh about it. Let's make a big deal about the fact that it's the worst movie that's ever made, and let it become a cult classic, right?
Well, this is almost schoolyard jujitsu, right? Like when someone goes to make fun of you and you make fun of yourself even harder than they're trying to make fun of you.
Yeah.
What can they do anymore? Right?
Yes.
They actually feel bad.
Like Chris Farley.
Right. Yeah. So you have to be really careful when you're making your trailers, and even setting up your campaigns, or any of your marketing material, that you don't become a parody of yourself, that you don't fall into these cliche tropes. Yeah.
Yes, everything will have an effect, and we were talking about the cuts, right? It's like the cuts have an effect, the music has an effect, pacing will have an emotional effect on your audience. Everything affects them. Do you know what you're doing? Like, do you know the thing you're using and what effect it will have? And if you don't, it might have an unintended effect.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like sometimes you think but then you put it out there and there's something completely different. That happens to the best.
Yeah, totally.
And dude, it's just like, at least be mindful that everything you do, every cut, every line said, every image presented is going to have an impact, for good or worse. So that's.
And one of the things I'd say for a lot of people is, shorter is handy. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to make something shorter and survive in it. But the good thing about shorter is that it plays into the other piece, clear. Like, don't try to have 5 or 6 different ideas or turns or different things. It's like, you want to have a setup, you want to have a turn, you want to button that up with something at the end that closes the whole idea. And then if you got that across the plate and people understand it, you're great. Like, thank whatever stars you wish and be happy with it, because that's a struggle in and of itself, right? Just something that straightforward can be hard to make happen.
And I think, once you've determined your knowledge, your audience, and what your effect is going to be, like what you want it to be, you also have to think about what the long-term for that will accomplish. Like for the Arrow books, you know, like for instance, The Little Mermaid, the Hybrids books, you know, most of, you know, pretty much all like Shadow Kingdom. We focus on that Fund My Comic piece at the end because that's our platform. Mm-hmm. You know, that's our platform. Like that's our distribution, because we can distribute directly to the fans through that and our store, right? Those are our two things that we want to do. So we may make a trailer that is for where the end is like on Fund My Comic now so that we can get the initial funding, but then we change that at the end to go to aerocomics.store, right? So you have to think about what you're trying to do. We are trying to also promote the platform that we're crowdfunding on, because the more people that use it and the more people that know about it through what we're doing, we're killing two birds with one stone, really, in that sense. So we're promoting not only the work, but the platform for which we are able to distribute directly, because little secret, Arrow people don't have to pay anything to run on the site.
Oh my God.
You know, oh my gosh. Oh, there's
the turn.
There's your turn.
Yeah. Everything just changed.
Yeah. And unless they say, yeah, go ahead and take a percentage for the campaign, like 1 or 2%, go ahead and do it. Just help out the website side of things. But, you know, and yeah, you're like, well, that's nepotism, you know, or that's whatever you want to call it.
No, that's a benefit.
No, it's a benefit. Yeah. of one of the editors at Arrow Comics starting a crowdfunding platform. Like, this is how we're going to crowdfund. This is how we're going to distribute for these initial runs. So, and it doesn't cost us anything, because the website, to run a website, a .store, is like $500 a year, right? You have to run a lot of volume through a website store like that to pay for itself.
Yep.
And so we have to offset that in some way, right? So Arrow Comics, they get a little bit of, and that's why we offer other publishers not that sweet of a deal, but a pretty sweet deal, because we understand they're going to be drawing people in all the time. Mm-hmm. And so if your trailer is intended to kind of kill two birds with one stone like ours, then that's fine. But after the fact, like, we can't use the Shadow Kingdom trailer beyond the campaign unless we keep it up there as a storefront. Mm. It's going to behoove us more to move it to the .store, right? So we'll need to change the end of that so that we can continue to use that trailer long term. And that's, I think, where people lose it. Like, how can I take what I have and make it to where it's long-term effectiveness and make it evergreen? That's the great part about issue ones with comics. You can make those evergreen. How can you make your trailers?
Yeah. You and I have talked a lot about follow through, right? And that's one of the big.
So let's talk about
a whole other. Oh, yeah, we can get on it.
Let's just touch on that. Let's just touch on that for a little bit before we move into some of the other stuff. How do you take that trailer and make it effective for follow through?
I'd say the number one thing to do is have that plan at the beginning. That's the first and most useful step to have, is to know, okay, we're going to build this, or we're going to build a couple, whatever it is. We're going to build them for the campaign. What needs to change in them once the campaign's done and we're moving into the ongoing sales and distribution phase? Plan for that. And that way, you know, okay, when time comes, there's just a simple cut that has to happen where this one thing drops out, another comes in. Bob's your uncle. I mean, I hope it would be that simple. You know, it shouldn't be much more complicated than that. But if you can plan for it, then
you know. So again, it comes down to that preparation. It's knowing, well, who's my target audience? And again, you might want to cut two different trailers for different target audiences, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Audience. Can I interject on this one? Because that's not really going to be costly. Like,
if you know about it up front,
yeah. If you want different edits of your trailer, just talk to your trusty editor, animator, compositor, and said you want that. So you're already paying the price. It's like, dude, it's an extra scene, it's an extra render. It's not going to be a whole new production.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. So it's doable, and it's not going to be that expensive. And even if you know a little bit of video editing, because a lot of people do it, it's just adding one more scene.
Well,
Maybe.
Let me say this: it doesn't make sense to spend that money if your trailer is only used on your campaign.
Yeah.
If that's all it's going to be for, the cost for return, the return on investment, the ROI is not worth it. The current way that we're using trailers, right? But if we're telling that story, we're creating that turn, we're doing it in a short amount of time. We understand that we're going to cut one for this audience and one for that audience. Now, am I going to use them both on my campaign page? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. But we got to start thinking outside of the box, outside of the campaign page. We do want that video to say exactly what we're selling and where to find it, right?
Yeah.
So in that, what we need to do is think, how can I use that trailer for, and this is the follow through for let's say, for instance, if someone came to me with a trailer and said, Luke, I would like to sponsor this month of Nerd Bacon. I'll pay for your StreamYard this month. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll pay for your StreamYard this month, and I'll sponsor the show. You play my trailer at least at the beginning of the show, if not a couple times through the show. Right? You do that for me. If you came to me and said that, I would absolutely do it.
Yeah, dude.
I would absolutely, especially if your trailer is good.
Yeah. How many of you guys?
Well, let me see your trailer first.
Yeah, like how many of you guys have played Raid Shadow Legends, for example?
I've never played it.
And you see that video everywhere. So
that's part of why I haven't.
Yeah, and that's the
point
thing.
is well taken.
People hate it, but that's the thing. Like that's the use of video. It's not to be on your landing page.
Yeah, and at the very least, put it on your YouTube channel.
Right.
Yeah, and no, dude. Like right now we have X.
I got them on my YouTube.
Yeah, like X is improving in its reach and what you can do with it. That's a proper way to just plant your video a little bit there. Maybe do like some news of the day. Hey, check out, this is my video for my comic book. Like redirect things like that to your landing page.
We've had 146 views off of X this morning alone.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, that some of those are watching right now. They're live watching, but those are collective views. Like we've had 146 people or people, individual IPs look at this video this morning. So that has created some reach there. They're doing better about that, using hashtags and things like that. We need to do another video on effective hashtags. Like that'll be another, I think, conversation.
Yeah.
And that will be part of the follow through week. So let's plan in a couple of weeks. We'll probably come on and do more market talk like this. But, but for example, you look at these gear companies, they, especially with music gear, they will find people that are influenced, shows that, they have guitar stuff or whatever. Hey, I've got this pedal. I'm going to send it to you. I just want you to do a review of it. Right. I just want you to, give your honest opinion of it and show it. And people will make a video so that they get the gear or whatever. Right. And so if you can create a trader value for another YouTube show, once you've got those trailers made, you can go to the pontificators and say, and I'm sure Art would probably not turn down money. Right. So utilize what dollars you have instead of trying to pay for Twitter ads or YouTube, or YouTube ads might work better, or Facebook ads. Go to where the audience is. Hey, let me sponsor your show. Can you play my trailer? Some people will just play the trailer. They're like, you don't need to do that. No, I'll help you out. I'll play your trailer for you. We do that here as well. Like, if we like somebody and we want to, promote their work, we'll keep their stuff in there and keep playing the trailer.
Good. And the trailer is good.
And the trailer has to be good.
Yeah.
It has to be effective in what it's selling and who it's supposed to reach. But that's why you might want different cuts. Well, this audience is a little younger.
Yeah.
So let's cut it to where younger people might like it more. Or this one's a little older. Like right now I'm working on a new trailer, and I'm just going to reutilize the animation that Pedro's already done for me.
I am mad.
Yeah. So in fact, it's going to be one of those things where I'm like, Pedro, here's this new song I'm working on for a quick trailer. Can you smash this together for me for a 30-second thing?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I re-edit that.
Yeah, and just do a quick re-edit for me, which is a lot more cost effective than not selling books, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, think about
guys,
it.
Don't feel that recycling animation is a bad thing. The studios do that all the time. Like if you watch like the Flintstones or Scooby Doo or whatever from the 70s and 80s, there's a lot of sequences that are the same sequence all over again. Like those guys like running and opening and closing.
Yeah.
That's reused, and maybe they changed the background, but it's the same animation over and over again. Like it's common. Just
Masters of the Universe, especially.
Yeah,
was
dude.
Famous for it.
Yeah, you just have to do it cleverly.
I'm pretty sure Disney reused the same two people dancing for every dancing that occurred in every movie for like 40 years.
Yeah, that happened in Sleeping Beauty, and it has happened ever and ever again.
Yeah.
The only thing that changed is that when they introduced the 3D camera on Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, when there was the roto. The overhead camera. Yeah, that was pretty big deal back then.
Yeah. Oh. The software was called Deep Canvas, I remember, and it cost like $2 million.
An hour?
No, $2 million to software.
I'm just being a joke.
And no, like right now you can do that with Blender, and that's open source. And you can do the same thing. So, yeah, guys, it's not like that expensive, but yeah, get somebody who knows. And okay, that sounds like I'm doing advertising for myself. It could be anyone who knows what he's doing, but get somebody who knows what he's doing. Will get you the product to the spec you want. Tell them the story, because that's another thing that I have troubles with. That they give me a trailer, they give me a couple of images, and I don't know what the story is about. And
you don't
then
know the mood, the audience, anything, right?
Yeah, then you end up with a video of a psycho killing people, and it's not really like your story.
A romantic comedy, yeah.
It's a rom-com, but it's freaking Jason,
Yeah, having a clear-cut plan and communicating that with the people that you're working with. But one of the tips I give to everybody is when you commission artwork, don't think of that art as just being a cover or a print. Think about what else you can put it on. Can I make this a blanket? Can I put this on a cup? Can I make this a sticker?
This looks like it could be a poster.
Yeah, think of ways that you can reutilize that artwork. Same way with the animation that you pay for. Same way with your trailers.
Because it's yours at the end of the day. Like I'm not gonna be. If I animate something for you and you reuse it, I'm gonna say, "Hey, wait a minute!" Like, dude, like you commissioned for a job. I did it for you. It's yours. So
that speaks to like when you talk about making a trailer that's under 60 seconds. Like, great, the short is already ready. Then it might just be a reconform.
Yep.
But you already have a short, so now you can put it into a whole other category that's super popular right now.
Yep. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. Like right now, I'm working on a theme song for the Hybrids book.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, let me get a nice theme song going. That But again, I'm looking like, what's the mood that I want for the music? Because it's, I really want to try to capture. I think the animation Pedro did is fantastic, and it definitely has that 90s X-Men vibe. So I'm like, let's get some music that kind of fits that, because that's really the demographic for the book. Yeah. If you're a Gen Xer and like the X-Men, you're gonna love freaking Hybrids. It's gonna be
INET 74 has a great question, and it has to do with that aspect ratio of videos. And that's something that affects when you render the composition.
Yeah.
So making different, they just talk with your editor. Like tell them, like, dude, I want this for like mobile phones, video. Maybe I only want mobile phones. Like that doesn't add any extra cost. Like maybe like 2 hours more of editing. Take that into account.
Yeah, if you're gonna do shorts and TikToks, which are not a bad idea, I mean, they have to be under a minute, number one.
Yep.
So your trailer could easily be used for that. So ask for a format for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all part of that package. But you got to think, how am I going to use this?
You want a couple of nerdy statistics?
Yes, please.
So right now, Wise Owl looked at this, and if anyone's ever interested in looking at data breakdown, Wise Owl, WYZ Owl, OWL, they do just statistics and breakdowns and analysis of stuff, and they did a 2023 full bore overview of video effects for marketing. You can find it on their site. It's like front and center. And right now, 75% of video is consumed on phones. So you definitely want to have your aspect ratio for a phone figured out, because most of it's going to be on someone's phone. And here's a really weird one. And your theme music just made me think about this. This is specific to Facebook, so it's a little strange. 80% of the videos are watched without audio.
Yep.
So that's why they have this whole trend of single word being machine gunned into your eyeballs, which is a little annoying, but similar things like it. Why that's so popular. But it also speaks to the first visuals anyone sees on your trailer are very important.
Yep.
So if you can open strongly on the visuals in your book, excuse me, you're going to go a long way. Right? It's going to do work for you.
Yeah. We live in a video age. We really do. I remember when the internet was coming up, it was pictures took forever to download. So it was just too slow. Audio was shared because audio was easier to share. You could really compress that.
Compress it, yeah.
And be able to share those kind of the audio stuff. Pictures, not so much. It was a lot of words, but I remember once it got faster, then it was videos, and people would watch long form video, and then it was like, well, now I want shorter videos. Right now, when I after I'm done here and I go down for lunch, I will watch whatever video that interests me, but I look at the time up in the corner. I'm like, how much time do I have to dedicate to actually watch that video? So a show like this works out well for people that listen in the background. So we know that our demographic is people that work during the day and that are interested in our kind of topics, love comic books, love the business of comic books. Maybe they're at right now at a hobbyist level and they're wanting to try to figure out how to do this, or maybe they're wanting to transition from hobbyist into part-time work or even full-time work in the comic book industry. So we understand our demographic, and we understand how people are going to ingest this show. They're mostly going to listen to it. They're not really going to look at our mugs too much. They're mostly going to listen. That's why we read the whole article. That's why we explain what's going on, because we understand that we're mostly a listening audience that gets played in the background. Yeah, I'm with you, Pixel. Pixel says, I rarely watch a video over 15 minutes long during the day. Yeah, me neither. If it's more than 15, I can't really do it.
Yeah.
20 is kind of my max, but I will tend to watch 5 or 6 minute videos.
Well, see, I'm the opposite way, because I work during the day and I'm like, I repair electronics. So I'm just sitting there. I'll comment sometimes, but I listen to podcasts and long form stuff like this. That's why I like Thursdays, because I'm like, all right, I don't have to look for anything to watch between
right, but you're
9
listening.
and noon.
Yeah, you're listening in the background.
But when I'm on my breaks and my lunch break, it's all shorts.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Cat Williams stuff. Like I've been piecing. I watched the Cat Williams thing on Joe Rogan. I hadn't watched Joe Rogan in 2 years.
That was great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of podcasts during the day while I'm working, like theology stuff, and all of that stuff is because you can't do that in short. You can't talk theology in a short, No. So those are 1, 2, sometimes 4 hour long conversations that are being taking place, and so I'll listen to those while I work, and so you have to understand how your content is being ingested, and if you're really trying to do viral marketing for your videos or video marketing, then you have to adapt that the majority of videos are watched on the phone and without audio.
And the value of a stream like this, what's very interesting about the numbers on that is that most of the people who will watch over 30 minutes prefer watching live. So there's this interesting Venn, mushing together where if someone's going to watch a long form piece of content, they often prefer to watch it live.
True.
Like this.
Because it feels like they're now a part of the conversation somehow.
Yeah.
Like they're in the room with you.
Yeah.
There is a lot of backwatch that I notice, especially on like long form interview type things.
Yeah.
The ones where it's more conversational with the chat, those don't get a lot of playback. I notice you can watch the trends and the playback stops right when it becomes more in the moment. But things like this where we are going over content that is what I would consider evergreen, people can we can regurgitate this information over and over and over again and chew the cud, if you know what I mean. So that it's always, they can listen to it. These kind of videos have a lot more rewatch value than some of those other ones. But you have to understand, again, who's your audience, how are they going to ingest it? And that's when you really start thinking about ways to take that money and that investment for that trailer. When you pay Pedro, few $1,000s it's going to take to make your trailer. He wishes. Yeah, he's like, I'll take it. But when you pay Pedro or anybody else for that matter, to craft your video, you've got to make sure you're telling a story with it.
Yep.
You've got to make sure that you're that you are saying what you're selling, what you're doing, what are you making.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that: what are you making, and why does it matter?
Yeah, you don't have a lot of time. Don't be very cognizant of how precious people are with their time.
Yeah.
Iodine 74 says, I would tend to have a live stream going on my TV when I'm working during the day from my office versus a long form video or a replay of something live, unless I know it's got compelling content. Yeah, again, it just validates kind of what we're already talking about. So the elements, we've talked about the elements of what makes a compelling trailer. Let's talk more about the turn. I think that's I think that deserves a little more attention because, in my opinion, I think it might be the most important part of your video. So what are some ways that you would say or things that people need to consider when developing that turn, that hook at the end?
I think you're playing on sort of there's two different things that can happen, and it's important to know which one's the turn and which one is not. I would say with like, it might not be entirely the right way to put it. There's the hook as well. Like when we talk about hook, we're talking about like an emotional attachment that people will have once they understand the story and they're on board. So like in the case of Hojo's trailer, you had a turn after a setup took place. That didn't necessarily mean the hook was in, because I think what still needed to happen then was the story, and that's what you moved to. You moved to like what's going on, and that needs to happen as well. So I mentioned that because I could see people making the mistake of thinking that just having that turn was enough, and it's not. Like you got to have the follow-up of what's going on in the story and get people emotionally connected to it. So why I'm bringing that up, and I'm trying to voice this in a way that doesn't, I'm not trying to bring down what you did, Hojo. I'm trying to figure out how to say it correctly. Man. No, it's more that like, I think people, when people would make a change like that or like flip the script like the way you did and have that turn, but then not follow up with an appropriate hook, what's happened then is they've just done the cotton candy version of it, the no nutritional value version of what should be happening in the trailer. And it's easy to think that just because you surprised people, that's enough. But you do have to have the follow-up of what is the story, why do they care, how does it connect to them emotionally to get the hook in. But that can happen, the turn can happen in that as well. So I'm bringing that up to say it's not as though the only form you can go through with in a trailer is something that flips a script. That's not the only way that you can have a turn. It can be a turn in the story. So if you set the story up and people understand it, so call it the paper bag princess, right? So what's the setup? You understand who she is. You understand she's a princess. You understand. I don't know do all of you know who the paper bag princess is? Am I just making a reference that nobody knows?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry. It's a story. Sorry, it's such a well-known story in Canada because it was by a Canadian. The paper bag princess is about. It's the story of she's a young girl princess, and her prince is stolen by a dragon. But the dragon burns everything, including her clothes. So she puts a paper bag on, and then she goes to rescue him. And when she gets there, he's like, you look gross, like you're wearing a paper bag. And it doesn't want her to help him until she goes and gets a proper set of clothing. And she's like, get bent is essentially the story. It's like really short. But the point is, what the hell is the point I'm trying to make here? I'm talking about setting up story, establishing an expectation, and the turn in part is about adding tension, and sometimes about turning the expectation on its head. You can have a huge turn of expectation like Hojo did, or the turn can be an increase in tension in the story. So it's something as simple as, here's a princess, has an idyllic life, then a dragon steals her prince and burns everything to the ground. There is an emotional turn right there, right? We've we've established what's going on in her world as being a princess and, going to get married and all the, what have you, blah, blah, blah. Dragon comes along. That's you using the emotional and tension of the story to add your turn in your trailer. You wouldn't want to show the outcome because that would be you revealing the whole story at that point in your trailer, and you probably wouldn't have time. But I'm getting at the idea here of, you can have your turns of style or story. And story is an interesting one. It's the harder one to pull off, I believe, because you have to get a story into people's heads first before you make an emotional change. But if you've got them in the story when you make that emotional change or emotional turn, that really drives into people's psyche. That's the kind of story that they really stick with and want to actually see a conclusion to. Something like Back to the Future, right? What do you see? You see that Marty's stuck. So it's, the setup of the story is that he goes back in time, but the turn, the attention that is wrenched up in the trailer is the moment you realize he's trapped. Now we have a story. Guy went back in time. He has to figure out how to get back to the future, right? It's right in the title. Yeah. So I would say that's a lot of high concept yammering I've just done, but you have to have some kind of turn, something to capture people's attention and connect emotionally with them. Because if you just lay it out and you're like, this is a story about a guy goes back in time, why would anyone care? Right? You're like, cool, right. Great.
What's that got to do with me?
Yeah. Why would I care that he did that?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So if you have to put some kind of complication, and this is like storytelling kind of 101 stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to put that into the trailer to some degree. You have to bring some level of storytelling into that trailer. And I think you can make it very simple. And in fact, it's probably better to keep it simple. Just put a complication in for the character. You have to introduce the character. They have to understand what's going on so that the complication, when you put it in there and wrench up the tension, has any actual friction or any traction. So
yeah,
that was a lot of babbling, but
no, it makes sense. Like, you've got to create that let's say it's a crossroads for your character. You have to, if the book is about them being at the crossroads, choosing whether to go back and do the same thing, whether it's a red pill or a blue pill situation, right? You have to create that turn there at the end, but you have to set it up. Why does it matter if they take the red pill or the blue pill until you understand that, well, one leaves you, basically in a la-la land of this fake matrix, right? Versus, the idea of, like, you're no longer going to have the comforts of the matrix, but you're going to have free thought. You're going to be free.
Well, what's great about that trailer too is that he said it. he threw it in the face of the people watching. He's like, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that was almost like, you don't even know what this movie's about unless you come and see this movie.
You've got to see it.
But then they asked. So that's actually one interesting way of doing it is they asked a question, and then they showed you a bunch of stuff, and you're like, okay, what he just said was, can I make sense of everything he just showed me? and that the only way for me to make sense of it
is
to go and watch it.
Yeah.
And that all looked pretty impressive. I guess I got to go see this thing. That's a completely legitimate tactic.
Right, yeah. And
I don't know.
Still doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
I've watched most of I watched most of Matrix 4, and I don't think they know what the
Why
Matrix.
would
that's
you
what I'm
do?
saying.
Why would you do that to yourself, Randy?
Oh, they're
They
making a
lost
new
it.
one.
I was bedridden at the time.
Yeah.
That's my excuse.
Lame
I got
excuse.
halfway through the movie, and I just couldn't. I just
I think
couldn't.
they just announced the fifth one yesterday.
I would see
they did.
Ben-Hur
Drew
again.
Goddard directing.
Drew Goddard, that's who it was, yeah.
Yeah. I would see Ben-Hur again than what's in the Matrix 4.
The old Ben-Hur, or the new Ben-Hur.
Yeah, the old Ben-Hur.
I'll let you the old Ben-Hur
watched the new
anytime.
one.
Yeah.
Great.
I watched the new one.
Preston's great.
There's a new one?
There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
Well, they
remake.
can't help themselves.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a new Ben-Hur. Yeah, no, wasn't it like in 2015 or something?
Yeah, around there. It
Yeah, it was-
lasted maybe 2 weeks at the theater and got
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, that's what we need. Let's just keep remaking stuff that nobody
That's all they can do.
nobody needs. I just can't stand that.
Either
Just
that
keep
or,
remaking stuff no one needs.
or do a superhero movie that they claim they never read the comics for.
Yeah, but put a
Oh,
woman
gosh.
in there, make it lame, make it gay.
There you are.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. So let me see. So the turn. Is there too much information that you can put in a trailer? Do you think?
Oh, I think that happens a
All
lot,
the
actually.
time. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a second. Where's the fine line between just enough and too much?
Well, if we're talking about a setup and a payoff, and I think that is what it really boils down to. You're talking about turn and you're talking about a trailer. The audience has to be able to care, as Glenn puts it. They have to understand what's going on. They have to have some sense of who the character is. And that can be at a very high level, right? But you are going for a single unified effect, which means everything has to be contributing to the same outcome. It has to be clear enough that you understand it, that the emotional stakes are something that a person can identify with. They have to be able to know, like, would I care if I'm in the same situation? If it's inscrutable, they're not going to be able to. They won't care, right? It goes back to what is it and why do I care?
Right.
So, clear setup, character. Excuse me. The character. This drives me nuts, actually, about current trailers. I have no idea often what the character's up against, even in the broad sense, right? I don't know. Is it that they're financially in trouble? Is it that they're trying to get a job? Is it they're trying to, like, Back to the Future was, just to bring that, to dredge that back up. You don't know that Marty is caught in a some sort of insane paradox where he's destroying his own future. They'll explain that in the actual movie. All you really know is he's stuck.
Go back.
Right.
Yeah, he's stuck. And they stick with that idea because trying to explain the rest of it without the context of the film itself would be impossible. They just couldn't do it. So it's very simple. He's a high school kid, which is dubious because he looks 27, but he's a high school kid.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back in time inadvertently. He's stuck. Done, right? And show a bit of imagery that he's in the past and he's in trouble, right? That's all they really have to communicate after that. Well, if they started to talk about how he changed the past, the second they start going down that hill, they're in trouble. Because how do you communicate any of that in a valuable manner to the audience without all of it, right? Without everything that happens in the story being available to you.
Yeah.
Right? The paradox of, like, he pushed his father out of the way and now his mother's falling in love with him. Just imagine if you said that to people.
Yeah.
Oh, he went back in time and
That
now
sounds
his
weird,
mom's falling in love with him. It'd be like, are we going to go watch this? Probably not.
Dude, that sounds weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Let's just accept that Back to the Future is actually a pretty weird friggin' movie.
It really is
weird.
But if I told that to you And then, people have been making fun of Back to the Future forever, right? They're like, Doc Brown is friends with a high school kid?
They worked with clearly they worked with each other.
You're like,
clearly they met at wherever they work, and that's
so they skate right over that. It's actually something that Axe and I say all the time to each other about certain things when we're because we watch like trailers and stuff and films and talk about it.
His Paperboy, and that's almost like a Family Guy situation.
Yeah, we talk about getting over the ice quickly because it's so thin.
Hey guys,
hey,
I'm gonna go lie down because I'm not
feeling well
at all. So I'm gonna allow Pitchell to take my seat.
All right, man.
Good to see you all.
Better, man.
Good to see you, man.
Better.
Yeah, see you, Pedro.
Take care, Pedro.
Good to see you again, Crom. Hojo.
All right, Pedro.
See you again.
Be seeing you.
Randy, Pixel, see you.
See ya.
We talk about getting over the ice quickly because of how thin it is. And that's what happens in some, certain Hollywood trailers. When you watch it, you're like, it's fascinating to go back and look at trailers for movies that and very well, and like you're watching like an original teaser or something, and you're like, that's not really the movie, they really didn't tell me what is actually going on. And like in some
Sin
cases,
City trailer, that's a good trailer. Like how the first Sin City was done.
Yeah.
The worst trailer that I saw, I didn't even watch the movie because the trailer turned me off. It was for the movie called The Beach. Because The Beach. It's a movie about a beach. And I'm like, that's stupid. I'm not watching that. I don't freaking care about a movie about the beach.
Yeah, and it's got the kid from Titanic. I don't want to see that.
The only danger is like he's staring at something and the music's kind of tense and it zooms in on him and you're like,
Right. But Shutter Island, that trailer got me. I'm like, I gotta watch that movie.
And then I watched the movie. I'm like, oh, the trailer was better than the movie.
When the trailer's better than the movie, yeah, there's a lot of that.
Zack Snyder can cut himself a trailer, man.
Yeah, he knows how to. All the best bits. That's what I hate when all the funny bits are in the trailer. Yeah. Everything good about the movie's right there.
The Suicide Squad trailer, where they had the music cut to the beat. That was one of the first movie trailers that I saw that really took the musical angle and started playing with it. That I can recall specifically.
But it's like Bohemian Rhapsody, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
So they're to blame.
So what's the average? Do you know what the average length of videos are right now? Do you have any more like stats?
Oh, I got more stats than I can shake a stick at, but average length in what sense? Like if you're talking about what's most popular, I mean shorts are murdering. I mean, of course, they're the funny thing about shorts though is that, and they haven't revealed this yet, and I think they haven't revealed it because the data would make them look like jackasses, but I wonder about the conversion effect of shorts, the effectiveness of that as a tool for actually marketing. And we talked a bit last time I was on about, Bancroft growing his channel off of shorts and, getting like 3 times the size of his channel from that in the course of like 10 months, I think is what it was. That's impressive. But I think we're getting seduced by vanity metrics where, okay, I is it great that I could take my channel from 5,000 to 20,000 subs? Yes, I think almost anybody would say that is radical. But what I have to wonder about is how many of those people are actually comic buyers or in that zone at all. So what do they represent in terms of converted backers onto a campaign? And I'm not bagging on Bancroft or anything, but I think he ended up with 800 people, something like that, on his last campaign. So it's like, okay, you increased your channel size by 15,000 people. What did that net you in terms of more backers onto a campaign? That is an insanely difficult line to draw unless you're very specifically building linkage and what have you so that you can see it. But I think there's quite a few people who are seduced right now into thinking like, I gotta get on this shorts train. I got to be making a ton. I got to be growing my channel. And then you have to wonder how many of those people represent like of true value to your end game, because your end game is going to be, I'm going to make a campaign or I'm going to have a series of campaigns because I'm going to make a series of books, any of that.
Yeah, obviously
how much are they contributing?
there was a mailing list metric. I can't remember what it was. It was like 10%.
Mailing lists are so much better for this. It's crazy how much more effective they are.
Sure, absolutely. But the thing was, still, it was a very small percentage.
Oh, it always will.
To the overall size of the list.
I mean, I don't know if you. Yeah. I thought you might have been on when we were talking about this before, and because I was rambling about industry standards, but the industry standard for most is 4% conversion off of anything, whether it's a mailing list or what have you. I think right now the tricky thing about video, just to sort of loop this back around into a larger view of video as an effective marketing tool, is that video right now is enjoying its heyday. Obviously, it's hugely popular. But what they aren't talking about, and this is when I'm usually suspicious, when I'm looking at all these statistics that they're talking about and not seeing the conversion rates, the effectiveness of conversion off of any of it. Like live, I think we can all agree, live does not have a very good conversion rate.
No.
But the people who consistently watch your live streams are probably, if there was some loyalty metric that someone could cook up, they're 10 out of 10. They're the people who show up every time. So
loyalty is really what you want, right? So
that's the end goal, is loyalty.
Yeah. So how can we leverage our videos to create loyalty?
And I think, just to sort of pick up that too, from what Iodine's asking about segment, it's not particularly easy to segment users on YouTube's platform or on the video side. In mailing, totally. Like people are able to get on board, and you're able to track exactly when, like, this email or this particular campaign brought them in. So now I can put them onto a segment list.
Oh,
you
the
can start
metrics
targeting
on
right?
like MailChimp and I use MailerLite. It's insane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tactics that they, any of them, whether it's ConvertKit, MailChimp, any of these guys, they have a lot of tactics for how do you put out content on the mailing list that even refines that further.
Iodine
gets you more information.
The answer to Iodine's question here, they're asking loyalty to what though? Your channel or your IP/creation?
That's
Very
exactly the
things.
point. Yeah, that's precisely.
Loyalty
you get
to
people, you get people who love your channel and love watching, and then you're like, okay, got a book coming out, and then they don't show up, and you're like, son of a bitch, wasn't the whole point of creating
right
a bunch of this video content so that I knew that there was a group of people who would show up and back? And I'm not saying they won't. Again, like I sometimes I sound like I'm like declaring that this is exactly what's going to happen. I'm leaning more towards what can you do and what tools are available to you to increase that like guaranteed percentage, if you can even guarantee it, but like just to increase that conversion so that when you decide now's the time to launch the campaign, you're confident that you have at least like 300 backers that are going to hit that.
Yep. Dr. Mask is asking tips for growing the mailing list. Or is that for another video? I can give you a couple of quick tips because we're going to be wrapping up here real soon. That is a longer segment than what we have available.
It's a lot. There's a lot there. Yeah.
I mean, I've watched hours and hours and hours of podcasts and seminars about growing mailing lists. But Hojo's got it right in the comments. Exclusive content. You have to create a value for the email.
Yeah.
They will sign up for the email if you can give them something of value in return. You can't just expect to get an email for free. You have to give them something. Yeah. Usually that's digital stuff. You have to have a few different, we call those hooks. We call those hooks. You have to have a few different hooks that you try out. I've grown my mailing list by offering my blurb worksheet. It's a worksheet on, if you answer all these questions, you'll be able to write a log line and a elevator pitch off of your story, because you'll understand how that needs to flow. And so you can write the sentences in such a way to explain what you just put down on paper. And so that was really effective with, so free online content, things that aren't going to cost you anything but your expertise or some kind of value from you. 10-page, I think 10-page comics work sometimes. Full free issues work a lot. That's why I use my website and why I'm still running the free floppies. So you can download all 9 issues for free. But when you do that, guess what you're giving me? When you go to the store to check out, you're giving me some vital information. I, number one, know that you're interested in the book. And number 2, I have your email when you do that. So so when the next book comes out, I can let you know, hey, you've been a customer. I know that you didn't pay to start with, but I have all of this now, and here's a new book, and it is for sale. Or here's a special on my physical books. You have to have something of value in order to gain those things. It just doesn't. Some people will sign up because they're your friend, but they may not actually be a customer.
And really, your friend's going to support you anyway. So
people like to know things. Like for me, it's like when I say exclusive content. For me, it's what the story is going to be about, like what we're doing, something like concept design, character designs, or a page where they get to see it before, or even if Twitter doesn't get to see it at all. That's part of the benefit. You're part of this, and I'm going to show you a little peek behind the curtain, and some weekly thoughts and stuff like that. I'm trying to expand that more into, now that the book's done, is at the printer, I can start focusing on that and kind of maybe set up. You can set these mailing lists up to mail out. You can write a bunch of them. You can have them mail out at by the minute, by the day. If you want them to go out during a time frame, I like 2 to 4 p.m. on the East Coast, because it kind of hits that hits all of the United States, all the time zones. People are already awake past breakfast. And
what's really interesting is you can actually set up your mail client to optimize when it sends out and to send it out in chunks, so it hits the coast at different times. You can also set it up to where if someone follows this link, it takes them to this page, and if they visited that page, they get another email that follows up on that. So you can automate the follow-up process so that you don't have to do anything outside of once you've set it up. It does all the work for you.
Yeah,
but there's
email flows.
Yeah, there's another way also to gain those mailing list people. And this, I think, is by far the most effective way. I love going to conventions and having my tchotchkes sitting out on the table. I price my tchotchkes each at $5 each. Some of them at 10, right? Because I have to, because if people are swiping, I don't make any money if I charge less, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I'll do. I'll give you one of those things, anything off the table, for free if you sign up for my mailing list. So immediately, their email is worth $5 to me. I've already established that relationship with them and that precedent, that your email is valuable enough to me that I will forfeit $5 to get your contact information. And I have the QR where they scan it, takes them directly to my website. And the first thing that happens when you go to my website, it pops up and it asks you if you want to join the mailing list. Type in your email and you hit yes. From there, they get their follow-up emails. And then I don't email a lot, but when I do, I make sure that when I'm emailing my people, it's not always sales. I try to do positive, then a sales, positive, then a sales. I want to put a call to action in about every 3rd or 4th email that goes out, but I want my emails to create value in their lives. So if I'm not creating value for them, they're not going to stay on my mailing list. They're going to wind up unsubscribing. Yeah. So they got my $5 tchotchke, my sticker, my patch, whatever they wanted. But then they leave the process, and they leave that, that the only way that I have to stay in touch with them. So it's all about creating value for people, not only to sign up, but to stay a part of the process. Mm-hmm. You got to create value.
Yeah, when I got here, that was part of the roadmap. Like when I looked at Rob Arnold's thing, he's like, you got to get on YouTube, you got to build your platform, you have to build a mailing list, you have to get in the chats, you have to get on social media, you have to do all these 5 things. Bro, Crom, do you know how many YouTube subscribers I have?
I looked at it on the channel, and like
50,
my brain,
dude, 50.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. Nobody cares. I just put some trailer reaction stuff on there, and I was working on the shorts, but not to do like promotion, just to do like a 60-second review of a comic book because I like comics and that's what I do. I make comics and that's part of my channel. Branding, like a lot of people don't really pay much attention to their own branding.
Yeah.
Like it should be very important to you.
Well, you also need to focus on trends, and let's go back to that right before we quit. This will be the last thing we talk about. You got to focus on trend. What are people into at the moment?
Yep.
And that changes every 3 to 6 months, right? So again, Crom, let's talk about where people can go for a free resource. For a free resource where they can see, or they can find out what the current trends are for their marketing approach.
There's a few ways to do this. You can look at things like Google Trends, right? So Google Trends is more about search terms, but don't sleep on search terms. People are constantly searching for stuff. It's going to tell you a lot of information, and it's a bit of a rabbit hole, but if you can learn to navigate the rabbit hole, you can find an incredible amount of information. The other one, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. What the hell was it? It's probably something super obvious. Because you can find what people are people use YouTube like a search all the time. So you can actually use it to see what trends are going on, see what people are searching for. Where the hell was it? Give me a sec. One is actually, if you feel like going through the rigmarole of getting in with what are they called? Playboard. Playboard's a fascinating one. That one is like real up to the minute kind of thing. Playboard it actually looks at people's channels. So like I can look at Ethan. I can look at his stream. I can find out how much did it make, who was watching when, all that. So that's a real like microscopic look.
So you said it's Playboard?
Playboard, yeah, is the name of it.
Playboard.
Playboard.
PLAY?
Yep, BOARD.co. And they have an insights, and that's this is an interesting one because it's less search, more outcome. So it's what's actually happening. So you could go and you could put in a keyword, you could put in, I don't know, would this even come up with anything? I put indie comic in. And, it's telling me now who with that particular keyword floating around, and it'll dig into the actual text people were talking in, because YouTube automatically transcribes. So it'll actually look through transcriptions now. The problem is it doesn't always get terms perfect. It's like, I heard you say something and then I mangled it into a different word. But yeah, if you at the top, right where you have the search, you could put in a keyword right now. Just above it. Yeah, just above it in there.
So
So I threw indie comic in, just 2 words, but throw whatever in and you'll see it'll give you a breakdown. Like, do you want to filter it by number of subscribers, money, any of this jazz? But if you just scroll, you'll see here's any of the current sort of top elements, and you can filter them in different ways, and how many people came in and watched something that used this term.
Okay,
so this requires a bit of fishing because you gotta dig through and see what's going on, but it is valuable.
On Marvel Comics comic books, a lot of views there. Look at that, yeah.
Because I think they added this in now. Did they? I thought YouTube had added a slightly more intelligence into their trending page, but not yet. Yeah.
I think that's the first time I've heard the word YouTube and intelligence in the same sentence.
Oh, they got plenty of intelligence. The mistake would be to think that they care about what you want.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the problem. But there's this.
So if you were looking for a show to say, hey, can I try to get my trailer played? Can I sponsor an episode? Is that even possible? You start looking through here.
Here's a really interesting point. Actually, I really, really wanted to make this point because I think it's something that is more important to the marketing than most people realize. There, right now, if you look at just normal publishing, so just novels, there are 35 hyper popular genres, which is insane. That's a lot. But there's 35 genres, and almost nobody skips out of a genre. They do not move between genres. People have the thing they like, and they stick with it. But people will move mediums, which means that if you, this goes back to like knowing your target audience, knowing what your book is, any of this. If say you're going to make the horror book, you could actually start exposing your book to people who read horror novels. And there is a percentage of people who, if they understood the story, and this goes back to a quality trailer that lays out a story for them, if it's in their genre, they might jump onto a graphic novel, a comic, what have you. There's a way higher percentage of that than you'd probably expect. Them moving out of their genre is almost impossible. Like publishing has never been able to figure out how to crack that code to get people to shift. So just something to throw out there, that if you've got your trailer and you're thinking about how you're making it, it might be worth sort of extracting or moving the comic component of that to later in the trailer, so that you throw the story out in front of them, you hook them with that portion of it, they understand the story, then you tell them it's a comic and here's where you get it. And you could put that on like a Facebook group that deals with horror, where most people read novels, but still have a reasonable expectation that you could pull in new purchasers from that. So just something to think about, right? That know your genre, play in your genre, but you can play around in the medium and you'd be surprised how many people you can pull.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I've got horror fans that, like you said, the novelist and the people who only watch, like, they're like, we're indie horror. I'm like, yeah, but so am I.
So looking for keywords. What's a good site for going to keywords again?
Google Trends is great. And if you recall, there's the guys over at Rand Fishkin's site there. Donk SparkToro. You remember that guy. At SparkToro, it is typically a pay service, but you can get a free account, and it'll give you a certain amount per month of insights that you can pull.
So we got Google Trends.google.com.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put that in the chat here for people. And what was the other one?
SparkToro.
And then, so how do you spell that? So SPARK?
Yeah, TORO.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
It does sound like a Pokemon. SparkToro.
Toro.
I think they'll give you like 20 searches for free per month, which doesn't sound like much, but you got to kind of pick your one, and they'll give you a ton of insights. Like they'll tell you about people on Instagram, people on all the different social media platforms. Like, again, you could put in indie comic just as a what the hell.
Yeah, let's do that.
And you'll see it'll pop up and give you websites. It'll give you social accounts to follow, videos, any of that.
I'll just register with Google real quick.
Yeah. I think because you were there before, it knows it's you.
Uh-oh. We're in our last 7 minutes of the program, folks. Give us a like if you can. We love that you're all here. Please, if you're on a platform, you can hit a like button. Do that, please. Appreciate it.
Okay. Indie Comics, search.
Some of these are sites that you're aware of. Some of them are not going to be surprises. But once it's done, it's taken a while for me to load too. So they might be having a little moment of their Amazon Web Services is currently crashing. But I mean, really, this game, the game of knowing like what's trending, is about patience. About like I would start at Google Trends, because part of what Google Trends will help you do is refine, say, 10 terms. Like let's say you're going to keep it to 10. You go to Google Trends because it's free, lets you search all day long. You see what people are doing, see what's popular. One of the handy things about Google Trends is that it will also give you terms that people are also searching for or finding within the term you looked for. And the handy thing about that is you're refining then where people are going in their thought process.
1,000 people a month search for indie comics or indie comic.
Not big.
That's the first thing I noticed. Yeah.
Not a
we
lot,
talked
right?
about this actually the last time I was on, that like that was not a great term because it really didn't get a lot of search volume.
It's not. So, but let's say we do superhero.
Or just comic book or comic books.
That's kind of a broad term, isn't it?
Wait, superhero is one word, isn't it?
Yeah.
I might be using up all my free searches.
It's all right. We'll get some more.
All right. So, yeah, let's let that. But it estimates between 119 to 151,000 people a month. So when you call yourself indie, you're kind of killing yourself.
When you got to wonder how many people, if they're going to hunt for a comic or something new that they want to watch or read, where do they start? Like, where's their head at when they begin this process? Are they likely to type in, "Oh, I want an independent comic," or are they going to think like, "I want to see a fire-based superhero," something along those lines? And probably more likely than not, they're going to start at the fire-based superhero side of things.
Well, actually, it's funny because you said here superheroes with fire powers.
Yeah, hilarious. Yeah,
75.
I didn't see
170
that.
a month.
Yeah.
Superhero lists. So if people are putting in those keywords, so superheroes, list, all these kind of keywords can help with your creating better search engine optimization, and thus, therefore, making your videos more effective, especially if you're using those kind of hashtags with your videos. And maybe that's what you want. You'll make a short of the list of powers that one of your characters has. Right?
That's why listicles are still a thing, right? Like they still do great business because it's, you think about your character, think about the 5 most popular Marvel characters that were like that, and then you create an affinity then in your content between them, right? The similarities and whatnot, you compare them. That's part of how you pull people from high conversion search terms towards you.
Bingo, yeah. And it's kind of where the use of polls on social media are so effective, because you can be like, "Oh, here's my character. Let me tell you about it. Now, who do you think would win in a fight between my character, this other character you already know, and this other character you already know? Who's going to win?" And let people vote, and it's fun. Who cares about the outcome? But it gets people engaged, and it gets people thinking about your character, it gets people thinking about what you're doing and your brand, and that you're out there doing something. Really what it comes down to, I think.
And to Iodon's point, broad, the more effective ones do tend to be broader. It's part of why you have to start broad, hunt down to the specific, and then decide okay, do I want to have a smaller audience, but maybe more qualified to what I want to sell, any of that.
Yeah,
this is something we can probably get on and talk about a bunch. So,
well, let's just plan that our next video, our next live stream that we do here on Nerd Bacon, we will be talking about audience, casting the net and narrowing.
Yeah, sounds good.
Narrowing the audience, okay? Because I think that is I think that's a natural part, and you can use your video to do that. And so the idea for this episode was to really think about how your video can be more effective, not just a slideshow of your art, and it can be used in more mediums, in more ways than just on your campaign page. If you're doing that, you're going to get way more bang for your buck, in my opinion. And I think my opinion's right. It's an informed opinion. But guys, we are at the we're coming down to the wire on this. We're going to head and close out the stream so we don't have to worry about going over. Hojo, thank you for being here and allowing us to your trailer's good. Your trailer's good. I enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
But
refinement is all I'm talking about.
Yeah. Allowing us to find the things that can make it better, so that not only you, but everyone can see your video was very effective in helping you raise money and sell your book and grow an audience. But even the most effective things can be more effective. And that's really what we're trying to say today. Thank you, Crom, for being here today to share your expertise once again. And
Thanks for having me.
In the back room, we will schedule our next stream for this, because I think this is going to be a series that we hit a lot of. I think it's important. It's what the indie community and the industry needs right now. Guys, don't forget to go check out aircomics.store. Hopefully this weekend I'll have some new books up there that'll be ready to order.
And thanks to my backer, the new backer we picked up today at fundmycomic.com for Shadow Kingdom. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. Don't forget to check out all of the books over Fund My Comic, including the Mythicals #2 and Ariel or AR-13L, The Little Mermaid. And definitely check those out. Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, and
Soltak, Chrome Dog, the Fool.
Soltak, Chrome, yeah.
Go there and take a look.
All of these great Arrow books. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't forget to check out that. And we do appreciate the chat for being here today.
Gotta go.
And thank you all so much for what you do and what you bring to the table. Remember, build up when you tear down. Leave the wood pile higher than you found it. By all means, please be careful out there.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there.